We are live.
We're live.
We're live.
Oh, hello, everybody. We're live.
Hello.
Well, as always, welcome to Hobby Vomit. My name is Ian, and this is
I'm Matt. Hello.
Hello. And as always, we're so excited to have you join us. Veterans and newbies alike, we are doing part 4/book 4 of Memories of Ice. So this is the third book in the Laws series. You all know this. You've been checking us out. If you haven't checked us out for the earlier videos, please go do that. This is going to be a spoiler-packed video for book 4, but we can't spoil anything after this because this is the final one of this book, which is crazy. We finished Memories of Ice.
That's crazy. Man.
I mean, technically we could spoil like the next book, but we haven't started the next book yet, so there will be no spoilers there. But yeah, and so as always, we're going to basically start off with talking about kind of what happened last time, some of the high level of what happened this time, and then we're going to get into basically everything that happens with the characters, what we think about it, what are some of our favorite moments, and we're just going to be able to go through this. Now, this won't be our last video on Memories of Ice. We will have one more video where we do our BARF review of Memories of Ice, and we also kind of talk about how we felt about this book in the series as a whole. Kind of gives us a moment to kind of talk about how we feel like the series is going, what do we expect for the next book, and that kind of thing. And then we'll be able to talk too about like what our expectations are for when we'll be able to start that or start getting the next videos out, because we're definitely still planning on continuing through this. It has been, spoiler alert, amazing. Don't have to spoiler alert. That's kind of the whole point. But yeah, so it's been really, really good. So yeah, again, if you have not finished part 4, please pause the video, go finish part 4, please, because it'll rock your world. And then come on back and come join us.
Anything I can't imagine getting to this point and being like, yeah, I didn't really like it.
Yeah,
like everyone knows what to expect. Come on. Of course,
some people,
we loved it.
Some people just might have peaked on this book. They just like this peak bliss. They're just.
That's true. Itkovi in part 3, that was pretty peak.
Yeah,
that was.
They're just like it can't get better, right? Like they don't want to live in a world where they have to experience something more intense than what we just went through. Yep. Just it's some people just can't handle it.
That's right. Can't handle the truth. But yeah, let's get into it. Oh yeah.
I was gonna say I also you should have warned me, but I didn't realize that after this book that we're gonna have to go back and reread Chain of Dogs, to like finish the whole epilogue. But it's okay. It's fine. We'll just.
I know. Yeah.
We'll get to.
Come on, who ordered these books?
Like, I hope everyone also listened to the epilogue or watched or read the epilogue, because otherwise that already not funny joke will definitely fall even flatter. But there was this big open-ended ending with Chain of Dogs, and so it was really, the epilogue was very fun. I really enjoyed the epilogue.
Yeah,
it was just we'll get to it, but yeah, we'll definitely have to have some time at the end to talk about the epilogue. So
for sure.
Okay. Well, let's get into it.
Sweet. Yeah, let's get into it. So, like normal, we're going to talk about what happened in the previous part, then the current part. We'll talk about predictions, and then we'll get into the weeds. And then, we'll just we'll end the video with our likes and dislikes. We're not going to end. I think maybe we save our predictions or like desires for the next book for that BARF review video. So we're not going to end with any predictions or desires. And then, we'll get out of here in a quick 30.
No, we will. We are going to talk a little bit about some of our older predictions, because I know you had some ones you really wanted to bring up.
I did,
and I had some ones I want to bring up. But yeah, but as far as future predictions go, we'll save that for.
Yeah. All right. So yes, what happened in book 3, Capistan? There was the Battle of Capistan. A new god of war ascended, which we know to be Trake or Treach, or both. Both. Does he specifically go by one when he's in like tiger form? Trake, right?
Nah, I think it'd be Trake.
Trake. Okay.
It's really either one.
Okay.
Because I think I've heard both.
Yeah, so Treach is what they called like when he was like the guy, like whose mind was gone. And I think in the back of the book it does say like Trake/Treach. So of course Steven Eriksson's like, I won't. I'm not gonna make it easy on you. I'm gonna make you wonder. I'm sure somebody out there knows and they will let us know. But for now, we'll say Trake. So Trake ascended. Quick Ben got a higher calling, that being he got all of the Warrens and the special powers from the gods to help take down the crippled god. The second gathering happened. There was a meeting of all the parties involved to make the final plan against the Pandian Seer. There was the emergence of these two gods that we learned about, Tog and Fandaray. Mm-hmm. And then the House of Chains was kind of introduced. And then I will be brief on the current part because it's very brief. There was travel to Corel. There was the Battle of Corel. And there was a lot of character deaths. And that's... We'll get... really, that's kind of all that happens in this part. It's like they make it to Corel, and then there's the Battle of Corel. And, yeah. That's it.
And I do like that the battle was intense enough that it's now referred to as Black Corel.
Black Corel. Black Corel. All right, so
name.
It is, yeah. So talking about previous predictions. Mm-hmm. So I just copy and pasted our old ones into here, all the way back from part 1 and forward. So that way, if there were any of our old ones, we can kind of revisit those. Tattersail not staying at the forefront of Silver Fox. I mean, kinda. I mean, she's Sharon. She's not at the front right now, really. Yeah. So, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting with the whole, like, will it be Nightchill, will it be Tattersail? But by the end, it almost feels like a mutual cooperation between all four.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is really interesting.
If anything, it felt a little more like Silver Fox was at the forefront.
Yeah.
I never really felt like I heard Tattersail's like voice anymore. So yeah, kind of her own thing now. And then my first big success that was the luckiest call ever, which was that Whiskey Jack dies, called in part 1, and I just knew, I channeled my, I am the master of the deck, and I say who lives and dies. No, I was super lucky, but I got it right. But we'll talk about that later if we actually think that that's true or not.
We need to start like the Golden Erickson Award or something for these kinds of correct predictions.
We need to keep track, yeah, because at the end of all 10 books, whoever has the most correct becomes Steven Erikson.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Like, we'll have a Shield Anvil come and take his pain, and then you just become him.
Yeah. Exactly. So, I mean, that got to get me... That's like at least 10 points. Whiskey Jack dying.
That's pretty good.
Nailed it. Perron accepts his place as the master of the deck. Check. I mean, not that... Again, a lot of these are softball ones. That seems to make sense. Here's my... here's a huge double miss for me. Buke. Fucking Buke. Who just decides to not exist for the rest of this book. Buke makes a big sacrifice. Nope. He just pieces out. And then Itkovian becomes a main character. Nope. Yeah. So Talk...
he was the main character of this book. Let's be honest.
He was, yeah. But when I made that, I was thinking he is going to be in future books.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Yeah. So I also put that Talk becomes the mortal sword of Tog, and the Maibai. Is that how you say it?
The Maibai, yeah.
The Maibai? You said it's Australian, right?
Yeah.
The Maibai.
Inner Australian.
Yeah, and Maibai may be the Destriant or Shield Anvil of Fandaray. So half sword. Tog does become the mortal sword of Tog.
Yep.
The Maibai does her own thing. Silver Fox does let the Talani Moss go or die after they take down the Pandian Seer. I mean, those events all happen,
yes.
But they don't really take down the Pandian Seer.
No.
And then Corlat dies. Wrong. But then, not in my notes. I got to bring it up. I've got the receipts if we need to see them. This is my only, I feel good about this. So after we did video 3, I didn't say this in video 3, but it was just as I started reading, I texted Ian on Discord. I was like, I'll read it. I said, okay, I have another crazy prediction. Talk has one eye. Anaster now has one eye. Anaster has nothing but despair. What if Talk somehow combines with Anaster or takes over his body and then becomes the mortal sword of Tog? And I freaking nailed that. That one, I feel good about that. I used my brain and it led me to a conclusion. And the whole towards the end, I was like, I think you and I talked the other night. I was like, yeah, I was way off on that. I was just taking a shot in the dark, and it was. We haven't even heard from Anaster again, and I was at that point. I think we were both halfway through the very last chapter, and so I was like, all right, I guess Anaster's just another character we're not going to hear from again. It's in the last 5 pages or something, and I was like, yeah, I can't wait. So that's those were my predictions.
There's this Key and Peele video where they're trying to remember where they parked their car in a parking garage. Mm-hmm. And so, Jordan's over there. He's just or it was Keegan's just reeling off this whole one thing leads to the next thing. It's like, oh, A, it's the first letter of Apple like New York like this, right? This whole trail of crumbs.
Yeah.
And it's just Talk has one eye, and Aster has one eye. Together they make 2 eyes, to land eye, like the wolf.
Yeah, exactly. But that was really,
so good.
I'm glad I got the whiskey. I mean, I'm not glad I got the Whiskey Jack one right. But that was really the craziest one I got right, other than I think maybe the talk. The talk one I feel like was the only one out of those that maybe wasn't easy to predict that I thought was actually going to happen. So I felt good about that. 1 point for me, please. 1 whole point.
Yeah, I don't think I really had any predictions pan out, because some of the ones I was really interested to see what would happen, and specifically with Perron and Silver Fox is, we didn't really see an ascension in this one, but we saw things which were similar. We did see Tog and Fanderay come back, which was really cool, but we didn't really have a character ascension. Which I had expected, and especially with the kind of characters we had. Granted, things could maybe change the next book, but Whiskey Jack, Ecovian, even some of the other characters, I did some pretty phenomenal, like Trots, for example. It was just there's so many of these crazy scenes of just amazing heroism. And then you have powerful characters like Silver Fox, like Krupp, with Perron. So I was really hoping for a character ascension, but we didn't get that in this one.
Mm-hmm. There are things that I feel like are close, what happens with the Maibai. I don't even know what that's considered. You literally have a whole plane of existence inside of you now. If that's not godlike, then I don't know what that is.
Okay, can we just talk about the fact that Cole is Cole's response? I think I'm pretty sure it was Cole. Maybe it was Brilliant, I just forgot. But Cole's response to the situation was amazing.
About the old ladies?
No. I need to know how many sleeping old ladies are we talking about?
Yeah.
I just love that that's inserted. It's we've really, it was just we came all the way for this, and Cole's no, I need you to explain this to me. What kind of conspiracy scheme are you running here?
It's well, what is that even so because in theory she's on the same kind of power level as, maybe not, but as Byrne. It's a very similar thing, and Byrne is a goddess.
Well, I think it hints at something else, which is that I don't think Byrne is able to do that on her own. I think that the only reason Byrne's been able to live this long is probably because Kroll, and that's actually probably why. I don't know we talk about future predictions, but I think that's probably why Kroll, why the poison is flooding through his veins, through the warrants, is because Byrne is dying, which is indirectly pouring out from her into him, because he's the one who's keeping her sleeping.
Okay,
that's what I think.
Interesting.
So I think that's just his ability. I think as an elder god, I think that's what he can do. That's just his thing. K. Rool, yeah,
super cool rapper.
Yeah, who helped us with our intro or our outro. Yeah, that's a super cool rapper.
Yeah, thanks to K. Rool throwing down the theme song at the end of this video. All right, what were your other predictions?
The rest of them were just guessing certain characters might die. Which, to be fair, nearly all of the bridge burners died in this one.
So
just
deaths
throw a dart and you probably get it.
Yeah.
But no, those were kind of the big ones.
One that you mentioned that didn't end up coming true that I thought was going to be really interesting, and it seemed like everything was lining up for it, was the Maibai being recruited by the crippled god.
That was the other one I was going to mention. Was I really expected something like that to happen because it seemed very much like it could go that way. I really liked the way that it went. With reconciliation through.
We should have learned after part 3. Ericsson's like, no, we don't do revenge in this story.
But the thing is, like, Ericsson can always do like a big fake out, right? Like I could be like, no, it's not going to go that way, and then he could get me with reverse psychology. So he plays. He's a very wily person. So, But yeah, no, that one I really thought the stars were aligning on that one, and that was not the case.
I thought they were too. Yeah, you made a compelling argument last video. You got me on board. But I agree. I would have liked that, but I do like the way this went as well. I think it was great. But yeah,
and I don't think other than that there were really. Well, we didn't see anything happen with Dragnapur in this one. We did see Piran go back into the sword, but yeah, we didn't see anything. We didn't see any cool breakout scenes there, and we did get a resolution with. Kaladin Brood, but it wasn't Brood who found that resolution. So that one was also really interesting.
You have to spark my memory when we get there.
He's always looking for a third option, right? He doesn't want to use the
hammer. I see.
Yeah, and we found that third option. He does. I don't even know if he knows that.
I don't think
found the third option,
he knows. Yeah, I don't think he knows.
But good old Quick Ben. But we'll get to it.
Good old Quick Ben. Yeah, I will say this part, it was awesome. Of course, it was awesome. I found myself constantly, especially you've probably heard me talk about it. I know you know, Ian, is that long drawn out battles are not my thing. And so Ericsson was like, well, here, I'm going to give you, at least I have the Broken Binding edition, and it's like 110 page chapter that is literally battle from start to finish. And obviously it was leading up to that, so I was very curious to see. I think he nailed it, though. I loved it. And I think the biggest part that made it work so well is that we know everyone involved, really. There are stakes, very serious stakes. So even every action scene felt tense because we didn't know. He's not afraid to kill his characters either. So, we didn't know who was going to make it. And there's so many different things jumping that I never felt bored in the battle. The actual, there weren't really hardly any drawn out then he parried and then he struck at his waist and he spun and dropped to his knee. There wasn't a ton of that. It just was he stabbed him and then he plucked his eyeball out and he's dead. And I was just ah. So yeah, I think he nailed it for me. If anything, normally I am all for the slower moments on the road, and I think I liked the battle parts of this one more than the traveling to Coral. I think that was might be my least favorite part of the whole book. I think there's a lot of important information we get, but after coming off of Kapistan and knowing what we're going to get, presumably what we were going to get to in Coral, I did feel that length a little bit on the road where I was like, I want to know. Not bad or anything, just I think that's how good the final chapter, 2 chapters were. So
yeah, we're pretty much talking exactly about our likes and dislikes. So I will go ahead and just sort of add in that I absolutely loved this particular part of Memories of Ice. I thought it brought it like what we've seen with the other books. It just brought everything together in a really, really awesome way. We got resolutions across the board in so many different facets with our characters, and so many awesome resolutions. Not Buke, but there's. Well, he might come back.
The end of book 10, Buke's gonna sacrifice himself to defeat the the big bad is.
There'll be a big bad who's casting the spell, and then just Buke just flies in.
Yeah, he flies in, sacrifices himself, and then I will ascend into Steven Ericsson's form. I think that's how the series is gonna go. I do hope we get more Buke. We may not, and it would be reasonable if we didn't. But I don't know. My curse is real. If I like a character,
well,
they just stop showing
Isn't
up.
Drake like a tiger?
Drake is a tiger.
And then you have Gruntle, who's Drake's mortal sword, who has tiger-like qualities. And a tiger is a cat, and a cat likes to hunt birds. So, and Buke is a bird. So
Gruntle's
maybe
just gonna kill Buke. He's like, I understand the pain you're feeling, but I cannot help myself. My cat instincts. I must kill you. I also found, speaking of resolutions, I found Corbo brooches and Bosch lanes a little. I mean, like, I get why, and I think we dealt with this a little bit with Dead House too. It's just like, not the storylines aren't wrapped up because they're not wrapped up, and that makes sense. But I was so intrigued by them, and some really interesting stuff happened in part 3 with them, and they kind of just like fizzled out to. I think where we leave them, it's just like, we're gonna stay here.
Well, so I guess we can jump a little bit, but do you think they're about to get like totally effed up? Because that's kind of what I took away from their resolution was like by the Mott Irregulars.
Oh, by the Mott
or maybe something else. Yeah, because they were asking. The last thing they did was they asked how they should treat the Bull brothers when the Bull brothers visit, because they know the Bull brothers are coming, and then they were like, yeah, just dress in your finest. I think that's what Gruntle said. So
you think Gruntle knows he's just not saying anything?
Well, the Bull brothers are like you don't want to cross paths with the Bull brothers. Like that's the only description we have of the Bull brothers. Is like, you don't want to mess with them. Like it's.
I feel like
they're not going to be okay with necromancers. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Or they might work for. I mean, they're working for Brute. They're everywhere. The Mott Irregulars. There's like spies everywhere.
I do think the Mott Irregulars are probably one of my favorite factions in the story. Like they are so weird.
They're so weird. I don't feel like I know them yet, to where I'm just like, oh yeah, I forgot about them. They're here too, and they just like they're just there sometimes, and they talk about them sometimes, but they're not really like present yet. I mean, I'm assuming they're going.
But you know what's great about that though?
What?
Is that just puts us in the exact same position as like everybody. Commander of this army. Like Brute didn't realize they were still around. Dujek didn't realize they were still around. Like nobody realized they were still there. Even though I would have to go back and double check, but I'm pretty positive that at the first meeting between Brute and Dujek and the whole lot of them, they brought up the fact that the Mott Irregulars would be traveling alongside the Malazans.
They did.
And they asked if it was going to be okay. And they're like, yeah, it'll be fine. Yeah. And then this is like where we are.
They did, yeah. That was in part 1. At some point, Whiskey Jack does say he knows they are spies with them. But really, that's it. He's just like, yeah, they're here. Cool. And then we do get a little history on them with... what happened in like when the Malazans tried to kill him, and then how they turned to how Brood kind of ended up recruiting them. But right now I feel the same way about them as like, I'm trying to think of like how like if Barghast was mentioned in Gardens of the Moon or something, I was like, I don't know what that is. And now I'm like, oh, I feel like I get the Barghast now.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming we were going to get that with the Mott Irregulars. But they do seem like a fun faction that it's going to be fun to follow them when we do.
Yeah. I also feel like every one of their soldiers is a high marshal, because no matter what happens, if we run into one of them, they're a high marshal. Yeah. So I just feel like they don't have any structure at all.
They kind of give me like dwarf vibes. Like they're just like a collective they're from the forest, but I don't know I don't really know what they look like, but I just imagine them as like short and stout and kind of like with like, I don't know. There's not really commands. They all are grumpy all the time. I don't know. That's just the vibe I got from them. But it will be interesting to see more of them as we go.
Yep. My favorite thing about this part, in terms of just the construction of it, though, going to the idea that you brought up about these long battles, one of the things I think just makes it work so well, compared to some of the other books that we've read. And like for example, like the Taking the Devils from Joe Abercrombie, it's like a good contrast. Although Joe's a very good writer as well, so I don't mean to say otherwise. But Steven Erikson has a very unique ability to take something like a battle and bring that battle to the forefront, and then immediately take it from the forefront into the context of the scene. So you can spend a long time in a battle, but it feels like you're watching something else operating in the context of a battle. No different than, for example, like characters operating in a war-torn world. It just becomes a part of the overall context of the scene rather than being like the scene itself or the thing that drives the scene.
Yeah.
And it's so cool how he can do that, right? Like where it's this massive battle, right? Like we're taking a city, but then yet it just becomes this context for a story. And it just makes it so cool because you know it's happening, it's driving up the tension, but you're focusing on something else, something that's more interesting to the drama of what's happening with their characters.
He did it twice in the same book.
Yeah.
Because Capstan was, I mean,
Yep,
a
same
whole
way.
part of a siege, and same thing. I just was like, yeah, super captivated the whole time. But yeah, I think you nailed it. It's not just like, yeah, I care more about what the characters are doing within, the context of the battle rather than like what's the outcome of every action sequence going to be. And I think the jumping works really well, and just his like creativity. I think there's a lot of contrast in this battle to like thinking back to like Coltane and his like tactics. That was very like tactical and like really like you felt like you're getting like the military aspect of it, which was a little lost on me at the time. Where here I never felt like I was like not following, or if I didn't follow something really quickly, I didn't lose anything because of it. And his creativity in this, like he just kept dropping new things. Like I think one of the moments I was just like, what? Was just when the Quick Ben and Perrin they get there first and they're basically doing that ambush on the people, but they're worried because they have a mage, and then Quick Ben's just like, oh yeah, draw. I can't remember what he tells him to draw, but he tells him to draw something, and then I think it's like a water. He puts his like water canteen there or something.
No, it's the So when he has someone to draw something, he has someone to draw the condor. So this is kind of like amidst that scene. They've like done the ambush, and now they're being attacked by these condors who are flying in, because it's like they're trying to basically block off all these different paths that are going to be used to ambush them. And there's companies of like Panion, Domin who are like coming through these, and they like cause like an avalanche basically. And but yeah, you got it twice actually, because the whole thing with the mage was one of the cadre mages that they just all of a sudden introduced, right? Like Toes, and I don't remember all of them, but they were just like, yeah, and then they're like, I don't know what this plan, and Quick Ben's just like, hey, look, if that guy is willing to put himself on the front lines, he could do what he says he could do, because otherwise he would be nowhere near the front lines. And then we're just like, what's he gonna do? And he's just like, I'm just gonna like cast a spell to make this guy drown while sitting on top of his horse. And then that like, that basically stuns him long enough that they shoot him with crossbow bolts, blow the avalanche and everything. But yeah, then these condors come in, and he literally is just like, yeah, Perrin, like draw the condor. And so Perrin does, and he just punches it.
Yeah.
The condor just falls to the ground, like like it got punched.
It's
like
silly on paper, but like I love it. Like it's just creative. And in any other book it would be super silly, I think, of just like what this is cheating. But like it doesn't feel like cheating. It just feels like cool thinking. I don't know, like just feels creative.
I love this idea that there might be like a bar scene one day where somebody is just like complaining to Perrin, and then he's just like etching into the bar a picture of that person.
Yeah.
And they're like, what are you doing? And then he just slaps it, and they just get hit across the face. Like
it's probably gonna be Krupp. Daddy Krupp. Daddy Krupp. That part I seriously like. He just like he makes me laugh out loud. Like, I was laughing out loud with the just like the whole storyline. That was the best part of the traveling, was him and Hitan. Is it Hitan? Heaton, yeah. It was just like, she's just like, I'm gonna bed you tonight and I'll shut you up, and he's like terrified. He's like, please. He's like, anything but darkness falling. Begging for the light to stay, which turns around to Krupp being like madly in love with her, and like the most excellent lover, because of course he is. And then she can't get away from him now, and not only that, she's all nauseous on the boat ride, but her dad, who thinks it's hilarious, which I love, he's like, I don't think that's seasickness. And then I didn't even think about that until he said that, and I was like, no freaking way. That's too good. I was dying. Krupp he's freaking goated.
Yeah,
and he's gonna be Daddy Krupp.
He's the genius of the age, man. That's the thing.
I loved that. That seriously made me laugh so hard, and it takes a lot to make me like, yo, whoa, what you got?
Yeah, vampire teeth.
Vampire teeth.
Okay. Yeah, they had Spider-Man costumes and vampire teeth. But yeah.
Nice.
Sorry for the little tangent there.
Spider, it's Morbius.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess we've kind of already gotten into it, but is there like a through line we should start with that we normally? I think, but kind of like the previous parts, this book is a lot more like, just like, I don't know, it's like a Play-Doh ball. He's just like, so it's really hard to be like, let's take this through line without having to backtrack. But I think that's just going to be what we need to do.
Yeah.
So I think one of those, it's up to you. Is there one that's speaking to you?
I was going to suggest Prawn and Quickbend, because I know that is going to launch us forward a little bit, but I think that they have a storyline that's going to branch out. I mean, because they basically touch on everything in one.
I thought that was your hand for a second. I was like, why does your hand look so small? You could just coming out.
Halloween, man. Who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah.
But yeah, I was going to suggest Prawn and Quickbend.
Sure.
If you want to start there, if you have another one that's pretty exciting speaking to you, we can go there.
I think they're all good, and it's just a matter of whichever one we want to do first. So I think that what they do, I mean, I think everything has a lot of weight to it, but theirs was the most, had a lot of mystery to it, because obviously they plotted this whole time.
Yep.
And we didn't find out what they were doing until they did it, which was crazy. So yeah, let's start with them. As far as like travel goes, they didn't have too many like notable parts, right? Other than them plotting.
Yep. So I'd say like the two main things that we do know of is, at least what we're mentioning as far as the plot goes, is we do get a final resolution between Prawn and Silver Fox, I think, definitively, where we recognize that their whatever romance there might have been not going to be, that they both are recognized on different trajectories.
Yeah.
And then also Pika. So Prawn basically selects her to be the lieutenant.
But they say Pika?
Yeah, they do. But yeah, it's Picker. So
who is this audiobook narrator? Is he reading the book? He's like Picker.
Yeah, it's Pika and Blenda. No, I'm just kidding. But Picker becomes lieutenant, and so she basically is intended. It's sort of implied like, hey, it's sort of implied that Prawn's probably going to be separated from the company at some point. But so she's supposed to step in as lieutenant, which is all really awesome, because I mean, given her personality too, she's just like no, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
But you kind of see like her really grow into herself through that, which is really awesome. But yeah, so they have this sort of plot. I mean, like for me, like reading through them, where things start to get really, really exciting is when we get to that ambush. Because it is, you get to this point where like these are two guys who've been traveling a part of this company, and then all of a sudden they plan this ambush because their job is to oust the trap, right? And it's worth mentioning at this point that we have no idea what's going to happen, because we know that there's a trap been set, and although I keep forgetting his name, the guy who works for the seer, the military leader that works for the sealer as his general, has laid like a pretty intricate trap. And
Seer Doman or something like that.
Well, the Seer Doman, there's a whole bunch of them, but he is one of them. But he's like the general.
Oh, it was like actual.
And
yeah, I don't know it.
Yeah, I don't remember it. But the point is, like, he has military experience, and he's very tactical, and he's laid out this pretty intricate trap. And nobody from the Malazans or from Broods or from Rakes, and nobody knows anything, because the Condors have been keeping them all away. And so now you've got Braun, and you got Pippin, and you got contingent. You've got the Bridge Burners, and they're walking into this half the Malazans are gone behind Dujek. We don't know where. The rest, along with the Maranth and the Barghast, are with Whiskey Jack. And then there's this whole meeting, and we don't even know who all is going to be able to make it to them. So they were kind of like just on their own, and they have to like plan out this ambush. And then they plan it out. Things kind of backfire, and then all of a sudden it's just Piran and Quickben just hand in hand, dealing with one thing after another after another. And then we get like one of the coolest moments of all. There's a great little image of it, little drawing of it on the Wikipedia when I was doing my chapter summaries, where he like they do that thing where he punches the image of the condor falls, and then Piran like goes into like a melee fight with this giant freaking condor bird who starts ripping up his face. And then all of a sudden he gets like enveloped by shadow, becomes a hound, and just literally like munches the thing's head. And so
this kind of like, in him,
this sort of crazy scene. Now one thing that we didn't mention is along the traveling, like up to this point, there was I just slipped my mind, but there was one other thing, which is he does go into Dragnapur. I'm pretty sure this was in this part, but does go into Dragnapur, and he does talk to Draconis, and he does recognize, and he does try to find Rake, and that's been the sort of the ominous tone of this part, was that he tries to find Rake, and instead finds Oblivion, and only comes to wakefulness later when Quickben brings him back. Not from the dead.
I think we need to talk about that scene, because there's a lot that happens, because he doesn't even just go to Draconis, or to go to see into Dragnapur. So they go to a place called Ortinal's Cut, which is like a big, deep, what do they call it? Like a trench or whatever.
It's a chasm. Yeah, it's like you might say a massive trench, a gorge, a chasm. Yeah, it's in that category.
And so they're like flying on the Morants at this part. I think it's before the Morants go back to Whiskey Jack. And so they land and they find a dead Teist Edor, which is notable. And they also then they figure out that he probably died because he was transported to the bottom of that trench via a warren using a special, like, basically like water magic, which they note is rare. They don't really talk about it too much more than that. They just say it's a rare type of magic. And then, so he then goes into, he goes to see he goes into the deck, and he goes to the Throne of Shadow. So that's the first place he goes. And the Throne of Shadow itself talks to Perrin, and he tells them that the Teist Edor are poisoned, like the whole race. And there's a lot in here. I did mark it because I think it seems like it's going to be some setup for for a bunch of other stuff. Like the Throne recognizes that he's got Hound in him, and they're talking about this wandering isle that wanders not, it flees. Because the children are corrupted, the souls of the Edor are poisoned, and they're asking Perrin to protect them, to save them. And so Piran says, I guess the isle's name is Drift Avali, or something like that. And so he says, I thought there was supposed to be Teist ND on this island, and the Throne says there were. They're sworn to defend, spawn of Andamander Rake, gone, leaving a blood trail, leading the Edor away with the spilling out of their own lives. Oh, where is Andamander Rake? They call for him. They call and call. They beg for his help. And then Perrin's like, he's busy. And then the Throne again are saying that the Edor have sworn to destroy Mother Dark. So that seems important. You must warn him. Poisoned souls, led by the one who has been slain 100 times. Oh, where this new emperor of the Edor, this tyrant of pain, this deliverer of midnight tides. So, probably important. Maybe our next big bad, or one of future big bads. It does seem like we're gonna reach ahead with the Teist Edor soon, seemingly.
Yeah, and it's in that same kind of language and vein as like the chained god as well.
Yeah,
like with
exactly.
this being poison and corruption and the bleeding out of life.
But seems like a different person though. It's a tyrant that has died 100 times, whatever that means. I don't know if it's someone we've. The only really person I could think of that like it could be, which I don't think it is Kaller, but I don't think it is him. I think it's someone we've not met before. Would be my guess. But that's the first stop he makes. Then he goes to Dragnapur to see Draconis. And then we just kind of get some more information on like how that Warren works. And like that Warren, it's something like so yeah, it's literally the wagon being chased down by a giant storm of chaos magic. And Anomander Rake needs to kill people because their souls are the ones that pull the wagon. But Anomander Rake, Draconis is saying he's shows too much grace, or I can't remember, too much mercy, or basically he's too soft to wield Dragnapur because he's not been killing anybody, and if he doesn't start killing people very soon, chaos is going to catch up to the wagon, and then everybody's fucked. Is basically what he made it sound like. So that was really cool to kind of learn more about Dragnapur and the wagon specifically. Like, what were they? Because before it was just like they're pulling the wagon. It's like, no, they're not pulling the wagon just cause they're pulling it for their lives. Which I thought was I thought it was very cool.
I'm really interested to see what happens in like the story with Anomander Rake and Draconis, because there's part of me that's wondering if maybe Anomander Rake found out that he was supposed to go into Dragnapur, and then that's why he took the sword and then then used it against Draconis.
I see.
That would be really interesting.
Yeah.
But maybe not. I don't know. I'm very interested though, because it doesn't really seem like Anomander Rake right now is the kind of character that would have just betrayed someone to steal their sword, right?
Yeah, I don't think so. Unless we find out more. But really, I think that's the first time because when Perrin comes back out, he then informs everybody that Anomander Rake and Moonspawn are lost. Might not be alive, which other people in the story have already found this out previous to this. But as far as they go, that is when they find out. Which is actually a funny place for them to find out once we find out what we know.
Yeah.
It's like, nah, it was right beneath you the whole time, right there.
Yep.
But yeah, sorry, I just wanted to backtrack and touch on that a little bit more, because it does seem like those are going to be, it was a lot of like lore dropping, but it felt like important as far as the TCD door go.
Yeah.
What's up?
I think it's going to come back. I think it's going to come back up for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so, but yeah, so then they're able to bring him back. They make sure he's doing good, between Quickbend and Mallet. And then ultimately, we get now to this sort of conflict, which is just like, it's just the whole conversation too with that setup is just crazy, where Perron is just like, use every single like explosive we have. He's like, I can't do that. It's like, why not? He's like, everyone will die.
Yeah.
like his explosion would be like all encompassing. But they plan out this whole this ambush, which of course, I mean, it's sort of defining moment for what will happen, because by eliminating that, they're really, I mean, it's disastrous, but they're really setting the stage for an actual siege on Coral, because it's sort of undermining the whole strategic plan that the Panion Domain are going to use against them.
Yeah.
So it is really important, and we just get this this rolling battle where people, I mean, and it's brutal. Like, I mean, there are Malazans that are being encompassed in the avalanche. At one point, there's a mage that they didn't realize was there, who's like blasting, and like it's an all-out brawl at certain points, and then Perron and Quickbend are having to do this constant quick thinking, right, in order to make it through. And I think eventually, I'm trying to remember exactly how it ends, but I think eventually they have to like jump out through a warren, don't they? Or am I misremembering how they get out of the conflict?
You're talking about the one like the ambush in the beginning?
It might just be that they just survived to kill the...
Dujek makes it, and I think they like rally. I don't remember if they get out via Warren or not. But.
Yeah, because I know Quickbin has to get Mallet to heal, so I think he takes Piran through his Warren to Mallet to get him healed.
Okay.
But yeah, that's right.
Which Perrin refuses, notably. I mean, at least the like cosmetic damage.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he also makes a point to say like he notes it to himself at least of like how he doesn't really like the cussers or whatever. How it's like borderline not warfare anymore because you're just like obliterating people. Which is I don't know. I don't know if that means anything or not. That's just notable of Piran's character. You know, I think he's going to do what needs to be done, but doesn't really feel like. I think he notices it's not like they're playing a video game where they're just murdering people. He notices that, you know, and acknowledges that they are taking lives here, which is important.
Well, it just speaks to his character and the way he views it, where there is a bit of that chivalry, a bit of that nobility in his character towards this. And, you know, there are these points where that 10-year-old child that was so eager to be a soldier, you know, comes out and it's just like, but this is like the nature of the war that they're waging. And especially with how high the stakes are, I mean, that's really what, you know, puts on that pressure of like the Malazans are using a kind of warfare that is absolutely, like appalling is not really the word, but it's overwhelming in terms of its ferocity. Like that's just really, and it is going to be that way because they are not going to take chances in losing. They're going to do everything they possibly can to win because that's how it is for them always. They always play like the stakes are that high. And that just means that using just absolutely destructive weaponry and using it to the most brutal way possible and very clever. I mean, they're very, very ingenious. And like if it means causing like a massive mud avalanche that will just like wipe out hundreds to thousands of people in the blink, like if that's what it takes. And if they have to put their own selves in the line of fire to do that, they do that.
Yeah.
And that's like what makes them a brutal force.
And this whole time too, the tensions are there, or the tension is high because kind of the big, I don't know, I guess, just tension of this part up to this point is that this group of different factions that have all agreed on what needs to be done are now all plotting secretly to themselves. They all know each other are plotting. They don't know who's going to show up, who's going to support each other. So they're just hoping that someone shows up. I mean, I think they are expecting Dujek to show up, but they don't know if he's going to make it in time. And then we'll talk about everyone else as well. But this isn't like a battle. There's like, I think it's basically like they hold off as long as they can because they need Dujek to show up. And then they just have to start without him. But then he does show up. So there's a lot of tension throughout that as well. And this whole part until everyone, I mean, the whole freaking battle. Because like even, you know, Moonspawn doesn't even show up till like the end. And you're just like, geez, finally. Like everyone's just showing up. It's like staggered in. But yeah, so
well, and
yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was saying, and so that's how we kind of get the initial wave of the Pandemonium out. And part of that kind of reminded me, like, you know, if anybody's ever watched the movie 300, like one of the, I don't know how true the tale is, but it's definitely part of like the folklore. Yeah, but it's definitely part of the folklore of the Battle of the 300 that there's like this lesser known path that leads into their back line, and because they're not in a position to be able to actually like block that up, right? That it can be used to ambush them. And so it's kind of like that as well, where like the Malazan forces have to worry about these lines of ambush, and that's what they've cleared out. They've made untenable by causing this avalanche. But then now there's like the whole condors that has to be dealt with, and then at a certain point you're gonna get like the Black Moranth are gonna be coming in, and they're gonna be like basically fighting with the condors like head to head. And then you've got like we find out there's like more Chain Shamala, and then we got the Talon mass coming in, but then at a certain point we don't. And like now the Malazans are like going like almost head to head with these Cal hunters. They're like shooting cussers into their dinosaur heads, and like it's basically the Jurassic Park movie we always wanted but never got. So And it's kind of crazy now. And then basically, I mean, for quite a while through the story, we're focusing on a lot of different Malazans, but in the context of different scenes of this fight, and then notably with Braun. Now I'm gonna start losing my train of thinking. But him and Quickben, now it's basically their job to try to get to the seer.
Mm-hmm.
And then they use Talamandis as a way to be able to ultimately confront the seer. And I've been reading chapter summaries and like going through all in my head. So I'm trying to remember if there was like something in between that was really important.
Not really. I think they just kind of like do their operation where they take the mages onto the roof to kill off the perched condors, while some other ones are shooting arrows from like a tower that they topple. It's kind of like the very like they talk about the bridge burners being like the first in, last out, and they are the first in to do this like operation to take down these condors, because if they don't do that, they lose. That is they've got to successfully complete this operation, which they do for the most part. There's a couple condors that are left, and so a lot of this part from there, I think, until when they confront the seer, they're just like hiding on the roof, which we don't know why, but then we find out it's because they are really waiting. They even send the other mages away at some point to where it's just the two of them. So really this whole part, that's kind of like where we pause on Quickben and Perron and get back to them at the end of the battle, basically.
Yeah, but their confrontation with the seer, that was for me one of those really, really awesome moments because of the fact that it really tied so much together. But as you mentioned, the other mages of the rooftops, it did remind me that, you know, I said earlier, like we get these several different conjuring mages, and they each have like a quirk. They just come out of nowhere, right? Like we just get introduced to them by name, and they have these quirks. But like one of them was a mage, but he would never use his Warren because it would just like it always like make everything worse every time we did, and it would always, people noted, I remember this, they noted that it always like makes animals behave very strangely. But then that was how they got a release from the condors, is he like opens his ward and all the condors just like freak out and they don't know what to do. They just want to be away from that scene as fast as possible.
Because we find out like the condors are like possessed basically. And so that Warren, like the actual condor bird inside of, I can't remember, what are they possessed by? Like demons or something? Is it demons? Or just
it's like demons, or it's just like the will basically of, but they're being driven into a frenzy.
So the opening of that Warren. It's the guy with the shirt. The shirt with like his mom's hair or something. I can't remember.
It's like Spindle.
Spindle, it's Spindle that has the crazy Warren.
We could get him for more, but I love that. I don't mean to play one of the new ones because we've had Spindle for a while, but it's just like, I just love that they have these quirks. Like it makes them very fun.
Toes was what does Toes, does he like, I know he takes, it's actually crazy, because he like kills someone and he takes their toe so that their spirits that are chasing after him trip and fall.
He believes that he's constantly being chased by spirits.
And he hooks them on, but doesn't he like kiss the toes at some point in this?
He casts a spell on each one of them so they don't like decay or rot. He like kisses them. It's part of that.
It's great. Very original.
But it's just like these quirks are just so great because one, like, I mean, especially with Spindle being here, I think it's worth noting that like some of the main mages we've gotten to know, Tattersall, Quickben, Tishrin, like they are extremely intimidating characters. Krupp is really the only, mage that we've gotten to know who is goofy. Like, and so introducing characters like Spindle, where they're like this might just be like how mages are with those bridge burners. They're just very quirky.
What's the wizard in The Hobbit? They go Radagast or something like that.
Radagast,
kind of gives me that kind of vibes.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just really fun. But then also when you have some of these other characters who get introduced for a very short period of time, like it's actually a lot better because like Spindle sets us up to view these pages as quirky, and the quirky actually helps them have a little bit more emotional impact, I think, because then later on, we're going to find out through Perron and Quickben's story that we actually lose most of these guys. And I feel like the choice to give them just a quirk, for us to know them by their quirk, I thought that was a really awesome choice. Versus if we had been serious about them, we probably wouldn't have cared that much to have seen them go. But the main reason I want to talk about Perron and Quickben was because the confrontation with the seer, that just like for me, that felt like a super pivotal moment in the whole story of the book. Because not only did it feel like at that moment Perron was really coming into his own as the master of the DAG, but also we get this really interesting reunion between Kalava, which obviously there was a lot that happened with her before this, but with Kalava, and then now this year, who we knew was going to be Jagged, who is in fact Jagged. I think I did at one point say that I expected him to be the Jagged child who came forward, which is exactly what happened. But that was kind of a given because the matron, who has turned the matron into a Finnist, which we haven't seen that happen before, but we have seen a Finnist, the House Finnist, which was buried in Drugistan, that became the Finnist Zath. And so he's turned her into a Finnist.
Imagining someone just like randomly clicking on this video and just clicking at a random point, and you're like, the Finnist, the Azath in Jerusalem, and the matron, and just like just gibberish, basically.
Yeah, it is. Like that's
it's cool though that we're at the point
there's
where
also
like,
an element.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it really is like learning. It's almost like learning another language. But I feel like we're only 3 books in. I feel like for the things that we are supposed to know, we have a good idea of like at least what these things do and stuff like that, which is like a pretty impressive feat in itself. But I just thought that was funny. Sorry, go ahead.
I know it is. It is like a whole other language of gibberish. But hey, look, it works, because now we have the shared gibberish with each other and with Erikson. But yeah, and so they ultimately ambush the seer, and Talamandus is able to basically just like get on top of them and enshrine the seer with this shield that basically prevents the seer from being able to access his warrens, notably the Warren of Chaos. And we actually don't know, this is kind of an interesting element to it. We actually don't know if he would have been able to access his other warren. It's presumed that he could not, but we do find out as well that he has not used his own warren basically ever. Like he knows he can, but he won't use his warren because he lives in eternal fear that the moment he uses his warren, that the Talana Mass will swarm him. They'll find him and they'll kill him.
But okay, and so I have a question though, because doesn't he raise the ice in Coral Bay?
Well, so we don't know that he did that.
Oh,
as far as I know.
I thought well, it does magically appear like as they're approaching. So somebody did, I guess, but I guess it doesn't ever. I think they assume it too, like Lady Envy and
that's probably the case. And I think what Talamandus does would presumably have blocked him from everything. But it is kind of interesting that he has been like using this like Warren of Chaos for everything, and we find out from Perrin that this. Well, actually, we find out from Quickben, but we find out that this use of the Warren, which is kind of crazy, by the way, because if we bring this back, the matron created the rent in Morn because she was seeking to control chaos magic. And then this child was tortured in that rent, but brought free by the matron, who now uses chaos magic from that Warren only because it's permissible by the chain god, but it has like been devouring him basically from the inside out. Right, like his emotions, his soul, it has been corrupting him like through and through. Right, and I love the idea that with the book called Memories of Ice, that memories are a really important part of this, and that's a very significant facet of him. Is that it's not just that he has been corrupted by this, but it's now fixed in him because it's in his memories. All he knows, all he can remember, for the most part, is just memories of pain and corruption and the desire of the crippled god to just kill incessantly, right? And to torture. And it's just a scar, right, that he bears.
And as a kid, like because Kalava is there as well, and he even calls her out as they're talking about freeing the sister. He's like, "You did this to us," like, and yeah, I think he's lived up into this moment thinking that this Talon intentionally put them there to suffer. So yeah, that's.
And I love that she recognizes him. Like we're meant to know that she recognized him immediately, knew like the moment she saw him, like knew, and then but she's just so like no, but like I made a mistake, but that's not going to stop me from killing you right now, because like you have like because like she's effectively you deserve it, right? Like that's yeah. And there's a that sort of that's that kind of a mass sense of morality that we've come to understand from them, right? Of just like you have committed atrocities. This culture does not operate in that kind of sense of redemption, which is very notable because that's exactly what she is now going to try to do from here on forward. So yeah, but we can talk more about that in a second. But the main thing I love is the fact we get this scene where Quick Ben is like, I have another idea. And as always, right, Quick Ben, sort of our like Obi-Wan Kenobi of this story, right? He's gonna be our Deus Ex Machina. But he came up with this idea that he's going to use Amtos Falak, the Warren of the Jago, which is the Warren of Ice, right? And that he's actually going to be able to use this Warren in order to be able to slow the decay, the corruption of Burn. And that's the third option, which is it's kicking the can down the curb, but the idea is that we're going to kick the can down the curb quite a ways to delay Brood having to use his hammer to delay this in the impending action that they might have to take in order to prevent like the disastrous destruction of Burn. And so it sort of all comes together with this sort of plot of Quick Ben and ultimately in conjunction with Bronn. But it's just really, for me, really neat because throughout this entire book, we've had this idea of like, why is a mortal the master of the deck, right? Why is Burn reaching out to mortals? Like, why are they involved? And it's kind of gives you this sense of there's a certain level of like ingenuity, creativity, but also like a sense of destiny of like, this is their fate too. Mm-hmm. Like they should be involved in deciding what comes next. And that they can make decisions almost in a way it's like they can just make decisions that
gods couldn't.
That the gods can't predict in a way. And so they when they need to roll the dice, like
wild card,
they trust mortals.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's just cool when you get characters like Quick Ben who like despite all odds, who can find these other creative solutions, and it kind of shows like how the faith in man can be justified, and like the faith in the gods can be justified, and it's just a very cool like dichotomy that we get through this, and ultimately that whole conflict is just you have the internal war of the Talana against the Jagat coming into conflict here. You have the personal history of Kalava and the Jagat coming into play here. You have the recent death of Tog, Kalava's own loyalty to her brother coming into play here. Perron being master of the deck and the Chain God's influence, and the whole Pan-Indoman War coming to play here. Quick Ben's need to try to preserve Burn coming to play here, right? And then the fact that like they're able to find a home for this Jagat. They use the Finniss to free the sister, right? And like it's just all these things colliding, and it could have gone all these different ways, but then the way it goes is in a way a resolution for every single character and then start of a new journey. Mm-hmm. Which is it's just really cool how it's almost like this big bang moment for the story for these particular characters.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was really cool.
Yeah. No, I thought so too. And yeah, it's just another big storyline that Erikson is not like, oh, we're going to do it. We're going to resolve this by killing him. Which, I think like, even though this book should have taught me up to this point, like there are other ways. I still feel like because that's just kind of what fantasy books mostly are, that you still, I still expect that. I was like, I don't know how they're going to kill him, but I didn't expect them to like show forgiveness and mercy, and grace. And I just think it works so well. It's never, even though they're constantly doing it in this book. And again, I think it's so crazy because a lot of things that Erikson does on paper, I'm like, that's silly. But like it just works. Like I love that they do it, and I totally buy into it completely. And I just think that's just one of his strengths. But they free the sister. Obviously she was like stuck in time, so she's still young when she at the same age as when she went in. And I can't remember what did they use to they wipe her memory. So she no longer remembers any of that pain.
Well, and so they specifically say that they don't wipe her memory, that actually the only way that it could have happened is through a god's own intervention. And so, which I love as a detail because the Jaguar have been hunted down by the Talon through all time, but by having a god's intervention in this, not only does it sort of make whoever this was, whether it was Hood or somebody else, like, there's now this sort of element of what we would call humanity, right? Presence among them. But one of the ways I interpret that was that even though the gods will let these things happen, that doesn't necessarily mean that they approve of it as their own sense of moral justice.
Yeah.
Right. That because if the gods believe like the Jagut should die, they're not going to intervene, especially the gods, right? They're not going to feel moved enough to intervene. But that's not their aim, right? That was a vendetta of the Amos. And so it's just really neat that they respond to this moment, and at least one of them does, and takes away the memories. But it might be significant later on. We'll see who did that. Maybe it's Karul, maybe it's somebody else, right? But it might be interesting, or maybe it never comes back up, and that's totally okay too.
Yeah, just the fact that it happens, and they get their new beginning, and he has her. They call him uncle to her, so she doesn't remember that he is her brother. But new beginning for them. In which we don't really know what we may never see them again. It seems like they might end up helping fight the crippled god. I don't know if they need to stay near Amtos Felak or whatever inside of Burn. And the other thing I want to ask to see if you remember is, from what I remember, them opening that warren inside of Burn is undetectable by the Talon Amos. Is that right?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. It's not that it's unreachable.
They just don't know it's being opened, right?
Yeah, exactly. They just don't know where it is, and that's why Kalava, being an Amos who witnesses it, that's why it's really important. Is that sort of her, she sort of takes on a personal, although she's not going to be staying with it, but she takes on that personal obligation to not only keep it hidden, but come to its aid should she be required to. Because she even says, I may have to fight my own kin as I once did. Which I thought was really neat. The one, the person who fought her kin to try to keep herself out of the ritual, who ended up basically slaughtering her kin in order to come to that, is now who, and she does believe that was not correct, but now recognizes that this would be ultimately the aim, right? Is the eternal war has to stop, and that that's an aim worth fighting for.
Yeah, which I think the way that we leave off the Talon Amos, and we'll get to them more in detail of everything that happens, but it does seem like that is not going to necessarily be their path forward anymore, of just killing the Jagat, which is nice. So maybe we're just going to get a nice resolution there, or it's going to come to a head, down the line. But as of right now, it doesn't seem like it's going to in the near future, which is nice. Because it did seem like with this book going on, it's one of them's got to go. But now we can kind of enjoy both for longer, which is cool.
Yep. Now, in the next book, they're going to become the Talani Mass after they take another ritual after some fight with the Tisti Eater.
Yeah, there you go.
And then maybe that's the conflict, and then it's eternal vendetta.
Oh,
no, I'm just kidding.
Oh, you guys on?
But yeah, but I am curious to see kind of what we see with them. But although we'll come back to it with Silver Fox, I mean, I think there's going to be this really notable distinction moving forward between the Talon Amos and the Talon Eye, which is really cool, how their two paths diverge in a way. But obviously that happens sort of separate from this with Piranha and Quickbend. But yeah, ultimately that's sort of our resolution. That was one of the, I think kind of three moments I would say in terms of the resolution of the story, where I was just this is really good. I love how this turned out. And this was one of them. And then the Kovian, and then the Maibi. There's just the three of those.
The Maibi.
It's just the Maibi. It's so good.
Yeah, there's just a lot of payoff too with we put in the work to learn about this, the rent and the whole prologue of what happens with Kalava and the kids. There's just so much payoff in such a short amount of time, and it's very satisfying. But they're their story doesn't end just there. Quick Ben and Perron. They do visit Whiskey Jack and the Bridge Burners in their new tomb, which is the dying Moonspawn, which is a pretty emotional scene. And then they're gonna go retire in Darujhistan, and I definitely believe that they are doing that. That we'll never see him again, and they will just live out their days happily.
Perron's got a new roommate. He gets to live rent free. He's got a new bar to go to. Yeah, I love how our sort of last scene with him is just like, I've been in for a week and I don't know where to put my gold anymore. So I'm gonna go. Bunk up with you. By the way, here's my loot. Adios. Yeah. Oh, by the way, before I adios though, let me tell you all about this bar you can't go to because you're a prisoner, because you are the warden of the Azat. You're not allowed to leave. But peace.
Yeah. Well, is it? I can't remember. Is it Perron that meets the guy outside, like the beggar? And that kind of seems like a little bit of a. Yeah, say it does definitely. I mean, it seems like it's very like Crippled God or House of Chains related.
Could it even be like the guy who made the deck?
Oh, what the hell is his name? Munug or something like that?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Could be.
I can't remember all of the complications that he faced, but I thought it was like because he had tumors, like a burned out, and that made him. Did it make him unable to walk, or make it really difficult for him to walk?
He had cancer in his legs, and the Crippled God goes, "Yeah, I'll take care of that," and so he completely loses access to his legs. Which I think this guy is just sitting, if I remember.
Yeah. So I'm just like, we see this guy, and I mean, that was my first reaction, was like, could it be? Maybe it's not, but like, it just.
That's a good call. I think you might be right. I'm looking right now because he does like a little like tongue-in-cheek kind of thing. Is it this guy here? Oh yeah. So let's see. Oh no, this is when he's talking to Raced. Oh, here's the beggar. Yeah, he dragged himself. Oh, you're totally right. He dragged himself closer, his legs trailing like dead weights. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Yeah, he says he is in need of a partner. I have gold hidden in a cache on the slopes of the hills. Yeah, so let's see. Because he says something like, Perrin says, I've no more need for riches. By the way, you probably shouldn't linger over long in this particular gate. The house does not welcome strangers. And then the beggar says, no, not this house. Then he softly cackled, but I know one that does. It's just like, all right, freaking mustache twirling evil guy. Oh, house, I know one that's chained. It's just like right on the nose. It's like, all right. But yeah, I think you're totally right about that. I didn't even think about that, but the legs trailing behind. But that completely changes my idea of that whole scene, because before it was very like sinister. But I can't imagine this guy likes the Crippled God anymore. The Crippled God.
No, he does. He like when the last time we see him, he like weeps, because he like feels closer.
Even though he lost feel
betrayed at all from that? It's like the same thing we see with Tog in a way, where there's like he's like overwhelmed because there's this whole like relief of them not getting back from the tumors, but then he's like disfigured at the same time, and it just sort of like breaks him. And he has that type of, it's almost like Stockholm syndrome in a way, but he feels that connection to the Crippled God, where he's just crushed basically. He's disfigured and disfigured in a way that makes him unrecognizable to many, and so now his like last place of solace is like with the Crippled God, and that's sort of what he stands for.
He is the God of the crippled. But doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so I think my understanding is we were always intended to take away that he like is one of his servants now.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the position that needed to be filled? That somebody was doing it, and then they got stabbed by somebody, and it was some messenger. I can't remember. I guess it doesn't matter. We'll find out what position he is.
Well, and that position got filled, but like there are other positions, and they're all twisted, right? And that's the thing that makes it really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Our first of like 8 storylines are done. There's a couple shorter ones, so let's do a shorter one here because I want to talk about the Mai Bai, because that's really where we start this whole part, with Cole and Murillo stealing her away to save her. Again, following that same theme of like showing mercy and like, yeah, they just can't stand to see Silver Fox treat her that way and just be, little do they know, little do any of us know that Silver Fox did actually have a plan, but that plan doesn't really come to fruition. Instead, they take her into Capistan, where like a new prince is being put into power. But really, okay. So they go to a temple, like a Hood temple of Hood, basically, and they're greeted by the new knight of death, right? The Knight of Death.
Yep.
That's the title.
Knight of Death,
which is definitely Bowden, right?
Which one?
It's definitely Bowden or Bowden. He's got 2 swords. He's bronzed, and he said that all he remembers is like protecting the child, and last thing he saw was flames. It's got to be.
Yep. I think it is, and but I he's like every Dark Souls character I've ever played, where he's just like they're joking about like how does he make his bed because he like I can't drop my swords. I don't know what to do. With my hands.
He can't drop his swords. Yeah, that's funny.
It's like, to be fair, like there could be this kind of, again going back to Bowden, there could be this sort of element of like he was fighting till the last moment where he burned. Like in a way, I mean, he may not be able to just because of the damage that was done to his body.
I think like they melted into his hands kind of thing. But there are some. It's interesting because there are similarities to the Kachin the Kell Hunters. That's like really essentially what they are as well. It's their arms. At the ends of their arms are swords, or is it their whole arms are swords?
Their arms are swords.
Just their arms.
Like
I want to see him do the robot. But so right outside the Hood, Corporal Broach, this fucking guy, he's just like bodies, interesting bodies. I'd like that. So he comes up and he wants to claim the Mai Bai. But Bowden, or the Knight of Death. We don't know it's Bowden, but I'm pretty sure it is. He basically is like, no, like threatens him, and he's like, leave. So they get Corporal Broach off the back, and then they bring her in, and Wrath Shadow Throne shows up. Wrath Tog and Wrath Fandere show up, which they're interesting too because they're like lovers, but they've never touched. And then we kind of
they ask like, how does that work? And I think we know how that works. We don't know how that works, but my guess is
the stork.
Yeah. I don't know if you thought about this at all, but like my guess is that is the requirement for them to be Wrath Tog and Wrath Fandere, because of the fact that they're 2 separated lovers.
Because their history.
I think they have to. Yeah, I think they have to be lovers who then don't touch because their gods can't touch, right?
Can they because of where they are, just because of situationally, right? But like now that they're back together, they can.
Yes, and then we see, and that's actually what we see, right? Is they weep, but they weep together. And so, which I thought was a really cool scene when the 2 wolves come back together. But when they were like, they're 2 lovers, but they haven't touched. I was like, oh, I wonder if that's like, because that's just like way too similar to the 2 gods, right? To be coincidence. So,
I'm trying to jump through my notes to the next thing that happens. I think really it's just when they lay her down to rest. I think that they basically tell Cole, or I think the Knight of Death himself is the one that tells Cole and Murillo like what the plan is, and that she's going to rest eternally here under the protection, notably, of Hood, which I think they question, or maybe it's just us, so like, why would he do this? To which we find out that Silver Fox has offered him all of the souls of the Talani Moss because she was going to release them to him, and that was like the bargain, which notably doesn't happen. So what's that mean? We don't know. As far as like, is Hood gonna be okay with that? We don't really know. But she goes into her dreams. What's up? Yeah, go for it.
Wait, we do get Krupp's response to the whole thing. Response? I think it was Krupp's response. Maybe because I don't Krupp and like Karul at some point like get involved, but But we do get a response from him later, which is just
Cruel definitely does. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Krupp does as well. You're right.
Yeah, but Krupp basically says if Hood lacks patience, then I shall dance on his crown or something like that. It's just
because he's the one that so yeah. I think when we leave her here, she's dreaming again, and she just comes across this like cage of ribs and skin, just like a creepy cage. We don't really know what it is just yet. And then when we come back again, I think she's just in really her dream state, and I think that's when Krupp shows up and basically explains to him what's happening. And that so yeah, this is when it gets crazy. I want to actually make sure I have my notes up because I want to make sure I get it right because it's crazy. There's like the beast realm. Okay, here it is. So the beast realm was created for the Mybi to rule in her dreams as an act of justice when Silver Fox was created. Way back when Silver Fox got created, they wanted some justice for her because it's, I think, the cruelty of what's going to happen to the Mybi. They know in that moment. So they create this beast realm for her to rule over, which is notably the place where the thrones were empty that Perron saw earlier. So it was to be Silver Fox's gift to Hood after bargaining the Talani Moss lives to him so that the Mybi's mortal body would live on. I put a question mark because I'm pretty sure this is right. Mortal body can live on indefinitely, basically like Burn. And so she's now to rule this beast realm and live on. Her pain is gone inside. Her mortal body will be protected. And really just like a happy ending for her. Anything you want to...
Well, and I was going to say, it's worth noting, too, that even though Silver Fox had planned this, there is in sort of intended to be this degree of providence. Because although she has the intention, it's not clear how it will all come together. And I think this is really, for me, this was really important in the story because it does go to show that one character usually can't know everything or plan for everything. We really don't know how Silver Fox's plan would have gone. In fact, she even despairs at one point because she believes it's not going to come to fruition. Notably because the intention she had for the Mybi and the Rivi and the Barghast gods, I can't remember specifically with the Barghast gods, but like
they're in there as
her
well.
intention, but her intention doesn't get met because she didn't intend for Tog and Fanderay to take the thrones, and so she feels like it's kind of being taken away from her. But notably, one of the most important things that happens with that realm that makes it in many ways a paradise is like what Eccovian does, and that's not something Silver Fox could have suspected or planned for. But it's just like it becomes this coalescence in a way of just all these things kind of swirl around it and ultimately drag it to the very intention that she had for in the beginning, for it to be this paradise for her mom, and it is exactly as the Mybi wants and desires in that time, but not at all how.
Sorry.
Never finds out, and it's not how she expected.
Yeah.
I should say it's like what's needed, but not what expected, and so there's that degree of providence, which is so cool.
Yeah. By the way, I misspoke. The Barghast gods aren't there. The Rivi gods are in there.
Yeah, the Rivi gods. Yeah.
And then so Tog shows up. The wolf god shows up to sit on his throne, and he asks the Mybi for permission to release the human, the mortal inside of him, and to which she grants him that permission, which then leads to Tog being freed. But I think that's really where we end the Mybi's storyline. She is in a paradise, well earned, after everything she's gone through. Not a super happy ending between her and Silver Fox, which I would love to see reconciled at some point. Because I don't know. It's a bit of it's a happy ending with some sadness too, because they both thought they didn't care about each other, but they both cared so much that they almost like tore each other apart. So I will be curious to see what Silver Fox finds out about that going forward. But so a new realm is created, which is crazy. But speaking to what you said, how everything comes together. That was like when I was reading this book, I was like, how do you think that up and make, because it's not like, oh, a cool thing happens here and a cool thing happens here, and then those are separate events and we're fine and doing that 10 times or whatever. But no, like, this cool thing couldn't happen. You couldn't think this up unless this cool thing happened, but this cool thing couldn't happen unless this cool thing happened, but then this cool thing happened affects 5 other things, and it's like, how at some point Steven Erikson had to be like, okay, Itkovian has to embrace the Talani Mas, and the tears of memories of lives are going to, like, that is like almost the inciting incident to everything at the end of this book, which is just a crazy thing to think up. How do you think that shit up? It blows my mind. Which maybe that's a good place to go as Itkovian's, because I don't think his will take too long either, honestly. But arguably one of the best parts of the book. I mean, like,
it's my favorite part of the book. It's just like, oh man,
it's so good.
It's so good. It hits so good.
It did hit so good. Yeah. And so another thing that I was just like, yep, I never in a million years would I be like, yeah, you know what I really think is going to happen? Itkovian's going to embrace the despair and grief of all of the Talani Mas, and then he's going to be brought up into the sky to cry. And when he cries, he's going to rain down memories, which will then create a paradise and enliven the earth. That's probably what's going to happen. No. Like, I don't, if anyone tells me that's going to happen, like, oh, I predicted that, I'll be like, bullshit. No way.
It's the second coming of Earth, man.
Yeah.
I know. I'm switching books, but
yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly. Earth is reborn. Earth Jesus.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so I think another important thing that happens with Itkovian, because we'll actually kind of go through his story now. He's really just traveling with Gruntle and Stony Manakis. Doesn't really know his place yet, except for he knows that he's not done because he meets that artist. I don't remember the artist's name, except for the frog's name's Gumble. I do remember that.
Talking frog.
Yeah, it's a Ormulagun and Gumble the Toad. But he knows that he has a purpose his purpose is at Coral. So he knows he's not done, but he is feeling a little isolated and not, because he's not the same position as he was. He's not the shield anvil of the Grey Swords anymore. But did you think, because it felt like a reveal to me, that he is actually still carrying all of those souls from Capistan, which was awesome. I was like, dang, that is crazy. He's just carrying this weight around. But I couldn't remember if, like, they told us that in part 3, and I just kind of like, they did?
Yeah.
I know that he took their stuff, but for some reason I thought it was still, like, released from him after.
No, because that was the whole thing, was like, he wouldn't be able to because he didn't have,
the god wasn't there.
Because no god answered.
Yeah.
Right, when he called for them, and so he was like, well, if you all won't respond, then I'll just I'll dig my heel in and do it myself.
Yeah.
And so no, he took those souls upon himself. And so that's kind of what makes the whole scene, like with Talani Mas, so crazy. It's because, like, you're already carrying all this weight, right? But it's just like, but more.
Yeah, a lot more.
Yeah.
A lot more. So yeah, I mean, I think really there's not really too much notable that happens with Itkovian on the road the rest of the way. That's like a big, I guess, reinforced idea. And then they show up, and Itkovian just goes. He sees them, he immediately knows what his purpose is, and just I think they're like having a conversation, he's there, and he just like walks towards them. He just goes. And basically embraces all of their grief and lets them know that's what he's doing. They all kneel to him, which is an awesome moment. And they kind of just like freeze frame there for like half the battle. They're just like chilling. But yeah. So do you want to take over?
Yeah. So he meets Prankol. He encounters the Talani Mas. And he's basically tells him, like, sir, I will take, like, give me your pain. I will take your pain. And then they tell him, like, you're mortal. You cannot take, like, 300,000 years, like, worth of our pain. He's like, but I will have it anyway. And so then we get which I thought was a super cool. Just it hurt, but it was just super cool where he takes it on and it's hitting him like a wave, and like he knows he's that like this is going to destroy me.
Yeah.
Like it's too much, and then he then realizes like this is what's crazy about it, right? Because he's going through their memories, he experiences memories, and then he comes to the point of the Talon, which the thing I thought was just so cool about this was like it's actually the thing that is the hardest in going through their memories isn't the wars of the Jaggeds or the slavery that they felt, but it was the moment of the sacrifice they made for the Talon. And like that's the thing, that's the memory that cuts him the deepest. Where he's just like, how could you do this to yourself? Like this, and like that's like the thing where it's like this is gonna destroy me. And then you got Pran Cole who steps in and he's just like, but if you can just hang on a little bit longer. It's just like, oh, yeah. Yeah. And again, it's just sort of the power of memories. And I think, at least for me, this sort of showed the significance of the shield anvil because it's like, it's not that anybody can just rain tears of memories. Like that's what he can do. Like this is the purpose of the shield anvil is to redeem people like for all of the injustice. And to specifically like kind of be there for when they pass on in many ways to like help them to pass on to something better, whether in this life or the next. But like that's what he does is he's the filter in a way. He can take these memories of pain and allow it to be the ashes for new growth. And that's why like gods like Fenrir and things like this, like they have these Shield Anvils to bear these terrible burdens.
I got a question though, because like so normally, like let's say Fenrir hadn't been banished, he would then release those souls to Fenrir. Do you think what do you think the gods do what he's doing? Because it doesn't seem like all shield anvils will do this, because normally they would pass it on.
Yeah. No, but I think that there's like a degree of enrichment in a way of like this is how that like this is like I think that that's what it seemed to me is it almost felt like there is a way in which the gods operate in the lives of their followers that sort of brings peace to their followers, but also like enriches the warrens and realms in which they live. And I think that's like the shield anvil is meant to be that bridge, is what it felt like, and he's having to do that himself, but because he comes into this new realm that now has gods, like it almost feels like in that moment, like Tog and Vanderay like can basically help him to be able to do this, to be able to release these memories, to be able to release these souls that he's been burdened with, and to then through them bring life. And it reminded me a lot of the my gosh, the warlocks from Chain of Dogs, where they're like bound to the earth, and their spirits that they call come from the earth. That there's sort of like this history, this memory that because their culture, because their history is tied to the earth then brings life. Right. And that's kind of what we see here is like when he releases these souls, they become their history, their worth in a way, like the dignity of their eternal souls, like enriches the land because it brings that land history and meaning and things like that. And it's not one of those things we're supposed to understand from a hard science, but it's just like broad brushstrokes because this place is now significant in this way, because of the sacrifice of this person and the burden they're willing to take on, then new life now appears in response to that. And like, again, one of those things that couldn't be expected by Silver Fox, but here's this person to be there at the right moment. And then you get that crazy scene of just like, and now I die because he's like, in that last question you won't answer, and no, because I am the shield anvil of Fenrir's Rev, and I am done.
Yeah.
Which is just,
I was like, no. Yeah. But great. I mean, like perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. You nailed it. But I am sad that he died. And then they build him a big tomb, essentially. Every single person there, Malazan, Talani Moss, everybody. Everyone recognizes who this man is. And so, yeah, they all go one by one and bury him right there on the spot with coins and silver and anything, some kind of personal possession. And it builds a barrow over him.
It's like literally like a whole day. Like it goes like through the entire night into the next day. like just people one after another.
Yeah. It's gonna sound weird because I've not read Lord of the Rings, but I know I've seen it, so it kind of reminds me of like the way that the people like view Aragorn, and like kind of like if Aragorn died, what they would do for him, but like better. You heard it here. Malazin's better than Lord of the Rings. I'll die. I'll die on that borrow. But really, I mean, that's kind of the vibes it gave me. Is just like he is just one of those people that it doesn't matter who you are, you see it and you respect it, and he touched everybody, and I just think that, man, yeah, I just can't believe we got here from where Ithcovian started. And really not that much time. I mean, not that much. He doesn't even show up till part 2. We don't see his name once till part 2. So crazy. Like a crazy character arc. And arguably, like, I mean, if we're thinking about the consequences of what he did for the rest of this whole story, I mean, arguably right now, one of the most important characters we've met yet. Things would be very different if he didn't do all the things that he did. But very sad, very emotional. That scene was pretty emotional, I thought, with just like the everyone going one by one. He makes you sit in it, but you don't want it to end, because as soon as it ends, then he's really gone. And that sucks. It's not like like I wasn't there's no hope. I mean, for him, like there wasn't any part of me that's like, because Malazan so far is like, if someone dies, are they though? You know? But I think Ithcovian's, I think he is gone. Like that was, I mean, because of the way he ends, right? He's like, I am done. I am done. So crazy. Yeah. Crazy. Sad.
Yeah. And when Pranikol comes up to ask the Destriant, he's just like, each of the Talana Moss will offer this shell, and if you say no, we will defy you.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Like, yeah, the respect is crazy. What he's done for them is crazy. So yeah, that was Ithcovian's storyline. Crazy. I don't have anything else to say other than crazy. I just can't stop saying it because it is. It's crazy, and it's like it's really one of those things that like you finish reading it and you're like, I want to shout from a mountaintop. Like, read Malazan. I need other people to experience this so they can feel it. Because I don't think a lot of books can do it. But this did it many times, and this is just one of them. But I agree. I think that's probably my favorite storyline of this book. It's very like Duker-esque for me. But I like it more than Duker, which is
he might actually be like my favorite character that we've met in the series so far.
I
still really like Paran, but like and I don't know what people's general opinions are of Paran, but or Perrin, but Ithcovian is just, I think he has become my favorite character that we've met so far. It's just like I mean, he inspires, I don't know, just as a character, he just inspires that kind of endearment where he very much like lives to his purpose. And I love that we also get a glimpse in those last moments too of his history, where like he didn't come from like a perfect childhood. In fact, he joined Finner's Rev to get away from, and Mac in some ways was like sold to it. And the only time he saw his mom smile was when he left, because she knew that he wouldn't have to endure anymore.
Yeah, he escaped.
Sort of, right? Sort of.
But she, she'd be proud. She'd be so proud. Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah.
We want to talk. So really, looking at what's left, we've got Silver Fox, and we've got Whiskey Jack. Really, I mean, I think all the rest of it kind of is grouped into there. Technically, I guess we've got the like Anomander Rake and what happens with Catelyn Brood, but I think a lot of that we need to talk about Whiskey Jack first. But do we want to do Silver? I mean, Silver Fox also kind of relies on Whiskey Jack. But
I think we talk about Corlett and Whiskey Jack, and then when we get to Silver Fox, then we can just kind of briefly mention. I don't think that there's for me. I think her character, there's still a lot left.
Yep.
That we're gonna see, And so I think really once we're done with Whiskey Jack, there's only going to be just the resolution with the Talani and what happens with Talani Moss.
Yep.
And I think that's enough.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yeah, let's do Whiskey Jack then.
You want to hit us off with your favorite love duo in the series?
Yeah, I do like them. I do. So, yeah, Whiskey Jack and Corlat. Basically, they just continue to. We start with them still withholding secrets from each other, and Whiskey Jack, a lot of inner monologuing about how he's already regretting it, not telling her the truth about some stuff, but at some point they're separated, and then later down the line, he's like, I don't know if we really need to get into the military aspect of like they're on the barges and then they meet up, they skip over Marek, and they skip over the other place too because they're empty.
Yeah.
Like,
and they know it's going to be empty. I don't think that we really need to get in the military. The thing I think which is notable is we do get this moment between Whiskey Jack and Dujek where we realize that this plan with the Panion domain, it's one cog, it's like one piece in an overall larger plan. But that sort of notion that we get from Guards of the Moon that Laseen is playing chess with the gods is true. Like that is actually what the Malazan Empire is doing. Like they are playing a very long and complicated chess game, and they're doing the exact kind of thing that we see with Krupp doing. Is they are feigning, for the most part, they're feigning ignorance about the game that they're playing. And the reason why I thought that was just notable is because through that revelation, we actually come to see why, not only why they're outlawed truly. I mean, we always assumed it was because that would help garner the attention of Brood and things like that, but truly, but also why Whiskey Jack was demoted. And there is even this sort of idea of like everyone we know who's been promoted has been demoted. Everything's inverted. And we realize that like the reason why everything's inverted is because Laseen is taking one of the craziest gambles of all time. And she's putting her most battle hardened, her most tactical, her most trusted, if you want to use that term, but her best soldiers, she is putting them on the front lines because that's where they're going to need to be to make the important decisions. And she's just going to trust that they're going to make the right decisions. So they're out there being sergeants and they're being captains to potentially incompetent officers, because when the time is needed, they'll be able to do the right thing. And it's just like, it's just wild. Like that as a concept is just wild, right? Like that. This is like this is what the world of like the Malazans are. And it works because these people really do believe in that vision, right? Like Dujek and it's a complicated relationship, but it's just really cool to see that like the reason why Whiskey Jack is where he is because of who he is. And like the whole thing with like Darujhistan, like Laseen was never trying to kill him. And he wasn't actually intended to die. He just needed to be there because it was going to be important, right? And then things didn't go right, and Tayshrin like effed up, and right.
Well, we find out he ordered them into the tunnels to protect them, the bridge burners, which is interesting. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, there's a whole. I have it bookmarked. It's too long to read the whole thing, but it is talking about that. Yeah, just like all the plans. They even talk about how luck played a big part. That the fact that Paran ended up master of the deck, that was not part of the plan. Just luck fell in their favor. And so this part was interesting here. He's asking about the Battle of Pale. And Dujek is saying, Whiskey Jack says, so I wasn't the only one rattled then. He's talking about Pale. And Dujek says, that Pale? No. Hood take us, we all were. That battle didn't go as planned. Tayshrin really believed he could take down Moonspawn and force Rake into the open, and had he not been left virtually on his own in the attack, things might have well turned out differently. From what I learned later, Tayshrin didn't know at the time who Night Chill really was, but he knew she was closing in on Rake's sword. Her and Bellarden, who she was using to do her research for her, her and Bellarden, Night Chill was using Bellarden to do research in order to take Rake's sword, which is, I don't even know what that means. yet.
Well, I think we're because Nightshell
To free. Oh yeah, you're right. To
Draconis.
feed Draconis. To
Yep.
free Draconis. Yeah. So it says it looked like a play for power, a private one, and Lysine wasn't prepared to permit that. And even then, Tayshrin only hit her when she took out one of the other mages, the very high mage who came to Tayshrin with his suspicions about her. When I said Belerdin killed Tattersail was the worst foul up in Malazan history, that day at Pale runs a close second. So, yeah, there's more too of just like. You're right. It's just we learn more about like what they know that Quick Ben knows. Like he's smart enough to figure this out on his own, and there's just a lot of information we found out going back to Gardens of the Moon in that conversation. Which, by the way, the end of the conversation, Whiskey Jack says he's going to retire.
And then Dujek says, "Share this one last meal with me." Oh, sorry, I just meant before Coral.
Yeah, but he also says something like, "Oh, something about like you could also just like fake your death, like this person or this person."
Yeah,
and I think that he did.
See.
Well, yeah, we'll see. I just don't. Yeah, we'll keep talking about it. So they show up. Right. I think any other notable things, it's like they show up to help. And really, he's just kind of there.
The only really other main interaction we get is him trying to convince the army of Brood, right? Brood's army, because they do connect with the side of the army. They show up. They don't have all the Malazans because they've split off at this point. He won't reveal where Dujek is, but at the same time, Brood won't reveal where Animander Rake is.
Yep.
So there's this confrontation. Kelor is getting super pissed, but we learn later that this is really just an act. But ultimately, Whiskey Jack is able to convince them that he is going to ride forward, and then Corlat and the Tistiandi who are there do go with him as well, but ultimately nobody else. And then we get this reveal where it's like that's exactly what Whiskey Jack expected, but it sort of provides this assurance that the Brood and then forces will be close behind. And then we notably get a scene later where Kelor is trying to convince Brood that there was a mistake and that Kelor should really go after them, which of course is really just a ploy because he wants to try to get Silver Fox alone.
Yep. That's really the next notable thing with Whiskey Jack. Obviously, he helps with the battle.
Mm-hmm.
Same with Dujek, but So then Kelor shows up and sees his opportunity when I think this is while Kovian is down with the Talani Moss. Silver Fox is there next to Whiskey Jack and the two Marines that have been following her. And Kelor decides this is the moment. This is the moment that the cripple god provided, which I didn't really think about that too much because that was the request. It's like, give me a moment. So like, did the cripple god actually have a hand in providing this moment? And if so, how?
Well, it might just be more so. I don't know that he did, but he definitely comes to Kelor's aid. So in some sense, that's notable and important, right? Like he might have actually Kelor might have actually died. Actually, would have died.
Yeah, if he didn't get
in
saved.
that field. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Kelor's basically going to kill Silver Fox, and of course, Whiskey Jack, being Whiskey Jack, is not going to allow this, and goes to stand and fight against Kelor. They fight and duel, and Whiskey Jack's bad leg comes back to get him, and I think he goes to lunge or something, and basically leg gives out, and Kelor kills him, and then immediately kills the other two Marines too.
Yep. Well, and so Whiskey Jack goes for the lunge, and it's actually it would have been a killing blow. He had Kelor, and then he missed basically because of his leg giving out, and then it provides the opportunity. So a couple of interesting things there because we don't really know much about Kelor, but I just thought that this was a really interesting scene and kind of a telling scene. And it was alluded to before when Kelor was asking for permission to leave because he's basically trying to boast almost in a way, right, in front of Brood. I mean, again, it's all sort of part of the ploy, but he's trying to convince Brood to let him go up to the front line to assist. And his argument is that, that they shouldn't forget that he has been a king for 100,000 years and that no one who's ever crossed blades with him has ever lived, right? And Brood immediately backfires. He's like, yeah, but have you ever crossed blades with the first sword of the Segula or the Segula? Have you crossed blades with Dasim Olator? Have you crossed blades? And so he sort of sweeps that off. But now we've gotten the full telling, right? Is that, I mean, Calor really is, he's a piece of shit. And he really isn't like a very strong warrior. In fact, the reason why Whiskey Jack almost kills him is because he loses his footing in the middle of the fight. Like he doesn't even know how to like play to his scenery, so to speak. Like he's probably powerful, he's brutal, certainly. But like his tool is his deceit and his conniving wit. Like he's not a skilled warrior, so to speak. I mean, certainly has some skill, but like that's the whole thing. Is like Whiskey Jack. Granted, Whiskey Jack's a great swordsman, but like Whiskey Jack would have killed him. Mm-hmm. Like he's not even strong enough to fight most warriors, like most soldiers. And there's just like a crazy scene, and like he would have died to the two other female soldiers, except when he took the two quarrels in the chest, like the chain god immediately healed him. And that's the only reason why he was able to really fight with them. And even still, one of them got him in the gut, which of course the chain god healed that too, right? So it's just like,
yeah. And this is also when we get the Tayshrin reveal, as Ara Tanthos is actually been is Tayshrin the whole time. Which makes a lot of sense with what we've been given as far as that conversation with Dujek and Whiskey Jack, who then unleashes his like warren of like, it's like they keep calling it golden. It's like golden magic, but I don't know what it is. Maybe just light. I mean, we have darkness, so it could just be light. But he unleashes that onto Calor, which would have also killed him, but the cripple god basically pulls him to safety.
Yeah, and as far as like you bring up like the moment, it is worth noting that the cripple god did effectively stun Corlat and
that's true. We forgot about Corlat
here. Corlat. Calor knocks out Corlat, but she becomes like dazed and stunned. And I was wondering about that, so I went into the chapter summaries to read upon that specifically, and they did mention that like she is being sickened by the chain god. She's trying to draw on her own power and she can't. And then the same thing with Tayskren. And in fact, in fact, even when he uses his warren, it actually like hurts him to do it.
Yeah.
And so I think in terms of like the chain god providing the moment, we could say that might be what that is like he's effectively disabling the two other mages who are present.
Yeah.
By attacking them through their warrens.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. And then Whiskey Jack dies, or he's dead. And yeah, another sad death. Honestly, like I know it was in my predictions, but like it was so surprising to me. Once the duel started going, I was like, I don't think this is going to go the way I want it to go, and it did not. And sad for like Corlac, because they were like going to settle down together. It seems they had a lot of love for each other.
She made her commitment. Well, sort of. She knew she had to stay with Anamander Rake, that's my favorite moment in her whole character arc so far.
Like when he's like my second favorite moment, and like her having to step into the role. Yeah.
And I mean, my second favorite part is she does lie to Zujek, and that was very heartbreaking. Where Zujek was basically saying, no, like he's too good of a warrior. It must be that his knee gave out. And she's like, no, it happened afterwards. And that was because she didn't want Dujek or anybody else thinking that that's the way he died.
Yeah. Like they didn't push him enough to heal it. You know, they weren't. They want to feel that guilt. Like I think they're talking about Mount specifically, who kept being like, "Hey, we should heal it," and he's like, "Oh, another time."
And even later, Piran is like, there are all these soldiers surrounding Mallet, just trying to keep him from. You know, it's more metaphorical in a way, but they're like trying to keep him from throwing himself on his sword, right? Because like he would be heartbroken, if that were, you know, if he were to know the truth, which is just it's so rough. But yeah, no, when she has this, Corlat has this moment where she believes that Anamander Rake is gone. She's not with Whiskey Jack, and she's thinking to herself like, I'm gonna run off. I'm gonna deny Anamander Rake. I'm gonna deny my kin, and I'm gonna go live out just the length of this mortal man's life with him. And then she starts to like kind of go through these layers in her head. And when she has that moment of doubt, where she starts to really doubt in Animator Rake and like what he's been doing for the Tista Andi, and then it sort of turns around where she then starts to think about, and I just thought this was such a cool moment. I was walking to work and listening to this, where she kind of goes to that moment, and just there's other stories I've read where they brought this up, but that concept of the short span of life that we have as people is also, it's tragic in the sense that there's always more that we could do. There's always more life that could be had, but there's also a sense of purpose that comes with that, like a sense of purpose in using the time that we have. And when you have a character who is mortal, right? And I've always wondered this with, like, for example, like the elves in Tolkien who live eternally, right? It's just like you can lose that sense of purpose because you always have more time. You can procrastinate to the fullest extent of measure possible because you literally have infinite, I mean, as much time as you possibly can ever want. But like, if you were to lose that sense of purpose, then what's left, right? And like Corlett even goes to that. Like, I've seen Tista Andi fall in battle, not because they were felled by a superior swordsman, but just because they succumbed to despair.
Yeah.
And saw no other conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
And just like the fact that like there's Tista Andi who are just going out and killing themselves because even though they have eternal life, they just don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have like a sense of like purpose. And like the idea that like Animander's Rake may not actually have like a purpose for them, but by always throwing them into things, right, that he is trying to give them like a sense of purpose
mm-hmm.
and how they operate in the world. And like that was just like a really cool moment. And then she's like, if he is in fact gone and I must step up, then I will stay to continue to do that. And I will lie to them and I will hide it from them. And whatever I need to do to keep them from falling to despair, to keep them pressing on. It was a very cool moment.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I agree. And Corlat's going to be a main character in Malazan.
No,
I've doomed her. I've doomed her.
Literally a prologue of the next book now. It's just be like
Corlat exploded. Yeah. So Whiskey Jack is dead. Corlat turns into a dragon and helps her brother fend off some of the remaining condors, I think. Fight. There's a lot of battling and stuff going on. But as far as Whiskey Jack goes at the end, he is buried, like we mentioned earlier, along with all the bridge burners that die. Which, gosh, we haven't even talked about the bridge burners, which I think that could be fairly quick as well. But they are all buried in Moonspawn, and Whiskey Jack is no more. Definitely 100%. Yeah. Well, let's talk about that, though, because at the very end, I'm just curious to see what you think. There's a very good chance that's. I think I have a reason why I think that Whiskey Jack is not entirely gone. Besides that, like, hint earlier, like, oh, you could just do what Dassam Ultor did and fake his own death. Which, by the way, I guess that's also just something that's interesting. That Dujek literally told us that Dassam Ultor faked his own death. So is Dassam Ultor dead? We don't know. We found his daughter or something, like in one of the Azath houses. In Dead House. His daughter was dead.
Mm-hmm.
So we still don't know
anything
about
Dassam Ultor. He may not be, and I would assume that he's not, because then, otherwise it bears little significance. But I don't think he is. And so it's certainly possible. It's worth mentioning that. I guess we might as well, since we're talking about Corlat, but like, other coolest scene, freaking Moonspawn rising out from the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
It was insane. Like, that was absolutely insane. And I love the fact that there is this dialogue from the seer with Talk, where he's just like talking about the history of Moonspawn and talking about how just Animander Rank may live there, but he doesn't know it the way that the matron does, because that was actually a home to the Change Umala that they used to siege the Short Tails during their civil war. And it's just sort of this moment of like, okay, maybe I don't know how to use it, but you know what I do know how to do? I know how to hide this thing in the freaking ocean.
Yeah, right in front of you too. Right in front of you. Yeah, it's awesome. And like, so here I wanted to show you because I have the Broken Binding edition, which tends to have some art. So like this piece here was just the city that they were sailing on. And this is kind of like a reason why I don't love Broken Binding is, by the way, I'll have to show you the cover. I try not to look at the art too much, but the cover is literally Itkovian with all the Talani Moss bowed before him, which, by the way, it's like we don't know who that is. It's just it's just like a man with long hair. So if you ever want to see what Kovian looks like. But we also did get this. Which, like, come on, that art is awesome.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's so
and
good.
It's like, and like he just makes a crash course for the keep of Coral. Just like, yeah, we're just gonna put the city right down in the city,
which bathes it in permanent shadow. Which is how it gets the new name of Black Coral.
Black Coral.
Which is sweet. I mean, just like especially because like Moonspawn is now going to die because of this, and so but the like shadow of the Tisandi can live on. Coral is going to become their home base, very likely, but also shared with Malazan because like the Malazan show up as well and their ships, and so like that's already some tension building for the next part of like, and Corporal Broach and Boshlin are there. It's just like who's gonna be here because it seems kind of crazy, but yeah. So he shows up and basically he goes straight for the seer too. It's like about to crush him when Quick Ben and Perrin snatch him into the Warren.
So such a cool scene, and like I guess all of the Tisandi are dragons because like they just start swarming in, taking out the condors. They take out the rest of the condors. Like they're swarming on the city, which is just like super cool.
Yeah.
Finding out more of them or can actually do that. That was really awesome.
Yeah. Did you think so? Like, I think because I had seen that art, I mean, it was a little bit of a spoiler for me, which is kind of a bummer, but that's why I didn't make any prediction that whether or not that would show back up, but I intentionally didn't show you. Did you think that they were going to show up, or there's so much happening, at any point did you kind of forget?
No, I never forgot about Moonspawn. I didn't expect it that way. Like I always imagined what I imagined would happen would be that we would get like this like eclipse where it would be almost like the condors have been we've been working so hard to like keep them away. I almost imagine that like after that storm dissipates, like it would be like it would later like come out of like clouds, like it was just higher up, right, and it's just like on this crash course. Like that's kind of what I expected, was like this crash course of Moonspawn to just come down above the condors and be like, just a big fu basically, trying to keep us out of the city. Well, we're just gonna come like and like for me it was just thinking about, I mean, I've watched like a lot of military films and things like that, and now it's something that you see a lot with
floating cities.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, that is like operating procedure numero uno for
Step
the U.S.
one,
military.
Put city above the clouds; they'll never see it.
But like using like the sun, right, as an angle of attack, because when people look up, they get blinded. I just kind of thought we did this cool moment where it's like it's big enough to like blot out the sun, and then the shadow gets cast. Like that's kind of how I pictured it, and so, which to me was like really cool. And then, but to like see it like rising out of the ocean, which is like, this is so freaking cool.
It's just classic Steven Erikson is like quite literally subverting your expectation of like floating city. What do you think that city does? Float? No, it sinks. It sinks and it's sunk to the bottom of this trench where it will rise up. It's just like complete. Yeah, how could you expect it? It just doesn't make any sense. But you don't care.
There's this episode of the Glass Cannon podcast, which is the Pathfinders podcast, where they like Troy is the GM, and like all the guys like freak out and they start like wailing on, like they pretend wail on Troy. But I could totally see this with like Steven Erikson, where he's just like, and then the water's parted and Moonspawn rises up, water flowing out, and we'll see you next week. And everyone's like, you son of a bitch. Just jumps him. Like, you cannot leave it on that cliffhanger, sir.
Yep. So other than that, though, with them, I think that's kind of where I think at some point Amanda Rick has a conversation with somebody in front of Coral, but I don't really remember if it being
Coral basically asked him like, what's he gonna do in negotiations? He's just like, well, I think him and even Catelyn and Brood are just like, we'll wait because the Malazans have earned whatever they asked for. And for me, that really felt like, I don't know if this is how you felt, but when they talked about how they would acquiesce during negotiations, it just felt like that was because of Whiskey Jack. Like the fact that
the respect,
the respect that like that was the price that was paid.
Yeah. And honestly, like I would go as far to call Amanda Rick and Whiskey Jack friends.
Yeah,
they had a friendship born out of respect, and yeah, I think Amanda Rick will mourn Whiskey Jack's death as well.
I think Whiskey Jack and the Bridgeburners, we lost all but 5 Bridgeburners.
Yeah, crazy,
which is crazy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and they were all laid to rest in Moonspawn, and I think it's again out of that respect for them and for Whiskey Jack, and ultimately for them because of Whiskey Jack. Yeah. And so, for me, it kind of feels like this is final for what we know of Whiskey Jack. That I think that we could definitely see Whiskey Jack in the future. I just don't know that we're going to see him in the same way that he's been now. But it's worth noting that Quick Ben leaves a pebble, which will allow him to always be able to get back to Moonspawn, and Moonspawn is sealed. So it will go down to the ocean, but it's presumably not going to be flooded because there's magic that was put there by Animander, but basically Animander has sealed the entire space. Yeah. So nothing can get in. I mean, other than by Warren, but water's not going to seep in. And I mean, there's even a joke about woe be to the Tomb Raider that tries to get in here, and it's just like they're not getting it. Like it's just not going to happen. But so that is really interesting that Quick Ben has a way to come back, right? Maybe it's sentimental, but probably not.
Well, I'm trying to find where it was. Oh yeah, here we go. So I'm curious to see what you think of this, because at the very, very end, Talk, after he's become Mortal Sword, a man approaches him, just a man, and he says something. They're talking and Talk thinks he's maybe a friend, and it says, "This pleases me." The man smiled, reached up, and laid a hand on Talk's leg. "I will go now, brother. Know that I hold you in my memory." Still smiling, he turned and strode away, passing through the midst of curious gray swords, heading north towards the forest. Talk stared after him. Something about that walk, and that's what made me think with the leg, like.
No, I think it's a Nos Tulan.
Oh, I see.
Because we see the same man.
Yeah, same man's going with the sister.
Yeah, we see the same man, and we find out that, which is also crazy. We find out that
is crazy. Yeah. Crazy.
He's now a flesh and blood Barghast.
He's immortal. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, or I shouldn't say Barghast, but I believe. I don't think this is that much of a spoiler, but I'm pretty sure that the Barghast are supposed to be the modern, the most resembling, Amas that we have, still living.
Yeah, we found out they're kind of related. Somehow.
At some point they talk about that, they're sort of related, right?
Yeah, so, but he is flesh. Notably, he's no longer.
Now
undead.
he's flesh and scarred. But
that makes sense. I got held up on the walk because of they kept mentioning the leg with Whiskey Jack, and they never really talk about Tool's walk.
Yeah, I think it's just more so that
just friends.
More so that they traveled together so long.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I like that, which we don't get any explanation other than that it might have something to do with Silver Fox, or maybe not, that he becomes mortal.
Yeah,
I think it does,
because I was I don't remember how that happened.
Yeah, so it does. They don't say it. The last thing we see from Nos Tulan before that is that he drops his sword in front of Silver Fox, and then it just says she understands. So I think, for me, I took that as I am no longer your first sword, right? I'm giving away my sword, no longer your first sword. But I think that she did. He confronts her, he asks her to release the Talani, she agrees, then they become flesh.
Yep.
And I think that I mean, it's very possible. I mean, Prawn Cole even says that there's now an alternative that they had not expected. They only expected Oblivion, but now there's alternative. So it might be the case that if she releases them, that they'll actually become flesh and blood Barghast. And I think that she, when he drops his sword, like I'm number 4 sword, I think she released him, but only him specifically.
Now, where did you? So I missed the part where he became a Barghast. I know they're headed towards the Barghast range.
Well, it just they just describe him as he looks like a scarred up Barghast. So he's not a Barghast; he just resembles one.
I see.
Yeah. So I'm using that just as like a characterization of what they look like, but they're technically Imaas. But yeah, he's a flesh and blood Imaas, which is crazy. The other thing I loved is that I know we could talk forever about these things, but I love that we got introduced to a very personal connection between him and Talk going back. There's this weird set of interactions with Tool and Talk about Flint. Like, oh, there's a lot of power in Flint, and like, oh, your eye was struck by Flint and all this.
Yep.
And we're never really sure where that comes from. But now we actually know. So his clan, that was their material of choice. It was very sacred to them specifically, and so much so that when he talks with Glove about getting a new sword, she even says like, we'll seek out Flint, right? So like it's very significant to like his clan specifically. But then also his sword, we now know their particular swords are always invested by like bone casters from their clan. And his sword in particular, his old one, was invested by his sister. And so it's I think also really interesting that when he meets with Talk and there's this whole thing about Flint, it's personal because it's not an Imaas thing, it's a his clan thing.
Yeah.
And so it's like very fitting in a way that they would encounter each other. But then also in hindsight, now we know with all of this, like the fact that his like sister is the one who like murdered their clan and everything, right? And this tension that they've had for like hundreds of thousands of years, he's never given up his sword, even though it was his sister that invested it.
Yeah.
Right? He's always held on to it.
Yeah. Even if he was angry with her.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's only once he's like ready to be reunited with her that he gives it up. Which is just, I thought that was a really like neat little element.
Yeah.
Tool.
Oh yeah, I think so too. Yeah, Tool's storyline is great. I'm glad that he's not gone. I guess we should talk about Talk. This one confused me a little bit. I mean, there's a lot that happens in this part of the book. A lot. And a decent amount of it is confusing. But Talk Talk is rescued by Tool from the Rent, or I guess from the Matron, and the Seer, which is a great scene in itself. Just when they're reunited as like brothers, really. Great scene. And then as they're like leaving, the frickin' the Segula Mok shows up because Lady Envy, who has now met up with the Bridge Burners, has awakened Mok for this battle, who she had put to sleep so that they wouldn't fight him and Tool. But I almost envision it as like a dining hall. I think it's like a dining hall or something. And like they're walking, and then like the door opens way down the hall, and it's Mok, and like Tool immediately knows. He's like, "All right, gotta fight." And then they just fight in this big empty hall, which I think is really, really cool. But then I think Talk literally like kills himself.
He does. Yeah, and a lot of that isn't really explained as much, other than we do see the imagery between the Maybe's own cage.
Yep.
That she envisions. She fashions herself, and then it's meant to sort of represent Talk. But and I don't know it really says in so many words, but what I kind of took from it was almost that I think that Talk was destined to be Mortal Sword from that pivotal moment in which he countered like Balljack and I don't remember the other
Balljack.
But I think that was intended. But then because of his encounter with the Seer and the torture that he faced, I think he and his body like aren't able to do this.
Yeah, his body is just destroyed.
Yeah. And I think it's also worth noting that like he carried with him Tog, right, that entire time, and so Tog through him like experience that as well. And I think that because of this, it's not possible for Tog to like live out through talk, or it might be an element to where like there is a type of like rebirth that needs to take place. I don't know.
That's kind of how I read it, but that Tog was aware of it and like was willing to kill himself to free Tog. Which, by the way, talk and Tog.
Yeah, I talk about, but yeah, it sort of just seemed like this, it almost seemed like this maybe didn't have to happen, but because of everything he's been through with the seer, that this just becomes like inevitable. That he now needs, his body is too weak, and so he needs to die and let Tog be free. And then so he manages to find the strength. Empowered by Tog as well. It actually becomes, he starts to take on the characteristics of the mortal sword in that moment. I was like, there's even a point where I was like, is he becoming like a werewolf? Right? Because he's like starting to experience this like bestial transformation, and that's what gives him the strength to ultimately then throw himself onto this broken beam and becomes impaled. And he dies. And then it's at that moment, and it's not a clean death. Like he like breaks ribs, punches lungs, like it just like it is like painful and tragic, but it's enough for Tog to be free. And then we kind of see this like he's the mortal sword of Tog, and so Tog has claim over his soul, and Tog's just like, nope, you're mine.
Yeah,
we're going.
And then,
if Hood wants you, he can F off. Yeah, like, you're mine.
Which we then know that Tog gets permission from the Mybi to free Tog, which then goes into Anaster's husk of a body, basically, because the new shield anvil has removed the despair from Anaster, and that's all that was left. And so he's just been like an empty being until Tog fills that and becomes the true mortal sword of Tog. Awesome ending for Tog. Happy for him. But going back, we got to talk about that Tool is defeated by Mok.
Yeah. Not without his own. I think he does like get a few good hits in, at least one like across the mask.
Yeah, you're right. It's not just like it's a close battle. But he does get defeated and then saved by Kalava.
Yep.
Which is notable, and I don't know if that defeat has something to do with why he also wants to step down, or I'm not exactly sure. But another nice moment of like saved by a sister, who probably wasn't expecting to be saved by.
No, I think you're right though, because there is this the talk he has with Kalava, and then maybe even Silver Fox, but. I wonder if like with Tool, there's almost this sense of responsibility in being first sword of the IMAS. That for the longest time as first sword of the IMAS, he probably was one of the strongest like warriors on the planet, like literally in that realm, and like he is in some sense like the last line of defense against the Jagged, because it's like if they could beat him, right, like then they would be beating like the strongest of the IMAS. Yep. And so, but now he's at this point where it's like, no, I've been surpassed. Like this was only Segula number 3. There's two other Segula, and there's even more people that are, that have risen up. Like, and so I think there's a sort of recognition of like, I no longer need to be the defender of this realm.
Yeah,
and I thought that was really neat.
So I also put it here that so this was right after that Kalava saves him, but then Kalava leaves to defeat the Seer, which we know. Goes to the Warren after Piranha and Quick Ben. But first she opens the Talon Warren for Baljag to find her mate and Tog's soul with it. So she's the one that lets Baljag, who is there with, now we know, seeking Tog. So she opens the Warren for them to reunite, in which they then take the thrones, those empty thrones that we saw earlier in the book, in the Beast Realm, or what is now known, I guess. I don't know if it's like the official title, but they made it seem like the Beast Realm is what it's to be called. And so they will take the throne there, which I don't think we know as far as like the Mortal Sword and Destriant and Shield Anvil. Does Fandaray have those too?
No, it seemed like
It's just
it
shared.
really seemed like it's shared because I think they even call him the mortal sword of Tog and Fandarin.
You're right. They do. They do.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm trying to think now. Do we know? Do we have the shield anvil and destriant for them?
Yep. Mm-hmm. We have everybody now.
Is that the two from the Gray Swords? Are now the Okay.
Yeah, exactly. The two female Capistan recruits are the destriant and the shield anvil. The only one they're missing was the mortal sword, and we have that now too.
Nice. So. Which, by the way, someone commented on our last video, letting us know those titles, and I think you kind of briefly touched on this last time. Like, we were wondering if every house has those, but it's specifically just the houses of or gods of war that have them.
Which so it's also
that was cool,
telling us that these are also gods of war as well. So these two beast gods and
yep,
that's really cool.
Which I think even Gruntle mentions that. Like, I think he sees Talk and he's like, I know you're the mortal sword of Tog and Fander. He just knows. He's like, but I'm the mortal sword of Trake, the god of war. So there might be a problem here, kind of thing. Like, is there going to be a problem here? Between their gods. So that will be interesting because I think up to this point we are to believe there can only be one, like, god of war at a time, and that's why Fenner was one. Trake couldn't ascend until Fenner was removed.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they're not technically gods of war because they're on these thrones in the beast realm, but they still have the same kind of positions because they were gods of war, or that's what they would be normally, but they can coexist now because of that beast realm.
Maybe so. But I mean, I think that they were, because maybe I'm just misremembering or I'm imagining it, but I feel like they were, and Fenner was then after them.
Yeah, I think you're right too, because we get the memory of of the god being put into Baljag to preserve the soul of Fandaray after they were. I can't remember why they fell. I don't know if it was like the chaining of the crippled god or whatever, but I don't know if it really matters. But yeah, I think you're right. I think they were before. But yeah, so I think we're close. We've covered Talk, we've covered Tool, we've covered Kalava, we've covered Paran, Quickben. I'm trying to think who's else. We've covered the T-Stand D and Animander Rake, Whiskey Jack, Lady Envy. Kind of very light in this part. We learned that the end of with Silver Fox is her taking the Talani Moss to go fight in the southern continents against the enemy that had defeated Lannis Tog's clan.
So that was like 40,000 or 30,000.
Yeah.
IMAS.
Oh yeah, that was the other thing. Sorry. When Silver Fox releases the Talon Eye from the ritual, they are made flesh and they go to Tog and Fandaray. And I think they even mentioned that earlier when the Destriant or Shield Anvil asks Silver Fox for them, because she mentions they kind of belong to our god. And Silver Fox denies them that because they are to be a gift. Which I don't know if that gift was supposed to be to Hood.
I mean,
they were part of that condition. Yeah. She just grouped them together with the Talani Moss or what. But so yeah, we've got the Talani Moss done for now.
Yeah. Well, and I guess since you brought that up too, maybe we probably should just go and mention that one other little detail which was really neat was I think we're supposed to understand that Silver Fox did believe that she might perish in giving that gift.
But she was willing to do that because of the sacrifices that the Maibi made.
Because we get this interesting moment where she releases the Talon Eye, and it costs her almost nothing. She says it was just I snapped my fingers.
Yeah, she was.
And
then surprised.
She says all she could feel because of that was she was appalled. Is what Erickson wrote, that she was appalled to realize how little effort it took to release them.
Yeah, she thought she was going to make this big sacrifice for them. Yeah, it's interesting. So really, I think really the last thing, if we want to talk about them, and maybe we just touch on deaths, or any parts we particularly liked with the bridge burners, because they. Notably for me, Trots was the big one that was awesome. and Datorin or Detorin or just both just absolute badasses and won't go down. And Trots dies with a grin on his face. And when they visit his tomb, like Quick Ben mentions that he can see that he's like smiling, still grinning inside his like casket or whatever they are. Love that. And also notable, like just the fact that he is a Barghast being buried with the bridge burner because he is a bridge burner. Like doesn't matter what your race is, you are a brother. And I thought that was really cool as well. But I mean, that to me, that was the most notable bridge burner scene, was that staircase showdown. And even more so because of Lady Envy and Picker, of like what could have been. Like Lady Envy's like, oh, I think Picker says something like, "Oh, you got no idea of like how bad this is gonna be." She like does like some off comment to Lady Envy, and afterwards, Lady Envy's like, "If you would have just told me this was about to happen, I could have saved everybody." And like that's brutal. As the lieutenant, like that is not something you want to hear. But yeah, we didn't really talk about Picker and Blend. Picker and Blend are a power couple at this point. I love Blend, and we found out that like Blend, this is the part we find out how Blend has her power, right, to not be seen. I can't remember exactly what it's from, but she wears something or was gifted something. She has a reason why she can be so sneaky. I just don't. Do you remember what it is? Something to do with Shadow, maybe?
No, not really. This one I have to go check back up on. There was a while there where I actually thought that we were going to get this twist where we find out that Blend isn't real.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, thankfully there were, like, Quick Ben talks to Blend at one point, and I was like, we got this confirmation, like, no, Blend is real.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, I hope, like, Blend doesn't get killed. And it almost does. Lady and be able to heal them. But yeah, and we do find out some cool stuff. I'm excited to see more of them, especially now that they're we'll find out at the end, of course, that they're running their own tavern out of Karul's now vacated temple,
like haunted temple.
Yeah, they've been spreading a rumor that like everyone believes is haunted, so that's why they chose it.
Yeah,
it's hilarious.
I have a feeling we're not going to see them again. Maybe, but that just feels like their happy ending. Like we might see them like if someone goes to that tavern in passing. I think they're done in the large scope of like, I don't think they're going back out there. I think they have got their happy ending.
Yeah, I mean, I would what I kind of expect is that we'll just see them for as long as Paran is in Drujistan.
Yeah, or anytime anyone goes to Drujistan or anything like that. But anything else on the bridge burners before we? Hedge was another big one, another big death.
Yeah, so we should mention that so they said that only 5 bridge burners lived, which isn't technically true. There were 5 bridge burners from the battle that lived. Obviously, Fiddler is, as we know it now, on the ship, traveling to Tavor's, her attempt to quell the rebellion.
Which Dujek is going to join.
He says. Going to join. Yep. Paran declined.
Yep.
And then you've got Fiddler, and then you've got Kalam.
Yep.
So which we don't know what's happening with him other than the fact that he's like in the Shadow Realm.
Sorry, that did remind me real quick before we move on past Kalam. Dujek and Whiskey Jack, when they're having that conversation about Lassine's plans, one of them, I think Whiskey Jack says, "Do you think Quick Ben knows?" And Dujak's like, "Yeah, he's like real fucking smart. I think he knows." And Whiskey Jack is like, "Well, why would Quick Ben send Kalam to assassinate Lassine?"
Yeah, well, it was the other way. Dujek was the one asking.
Okay.
That was when Whiskey Jack was saying like, if Krepa is like this world's veritable genius, Quick Ben is right behind him.
So we kind of get the reveal of like he sent them there because that's just something he needed to almost like hear in person to believe it, and like Quick Ben just knew that, and so he sent them on this like almost a fool's errand, which is when you think about it, a crazy fool's errand. He murdered a bunch of people. I mean, granted, they were trying to kill him, but that's a lot of death just to be like, I think you should hear it yourself in person. That's the only way you're going to believe it. It was a kind of a crazy tangent. But, so those two are alive. Sorry, I just wanted to mention that because I thought that was an important point to, and it's one of those things that I could totally see that as him writing this and being like, crap, What about Kalam and that whole storyline? And then him just being like, nah, Quick Ben, he knew, and so that's why he sent him. And like he's like almost walking it back. But also, if I found out that he's like, no, he knew that the whole time, even when he was writing Deadhouse before Memories. That would work for me too. I think I'm okay with it either way. It doesn't feel like I'm just retconning anything.
Yeah, I keep going back and forth too with like whether or not Deadhouse Gate should have been book number 2 or book number 3. And I could actually, I mean, I could really see it going either way.
Yeah.
I will say though that I think the reveals of Deadhouse, there's several obviously revelations in Deadhouse that hit really well that wouldn't hit as well after this if it had been book 3. But one of the downsides is a lot of the emotional connection we have to many of the bridge burners comes from Gardens of the Moon. So when we started hearing the names of these bridge burners, many of them were listed or just hadn't been previously named, but there were several that we recognized as sort of being from that core group. And so after the reading of that, we basically are meant to understand that because Piran, like, he wasn't really a part of the core group. Like he did join later as their captain, but I mean from the core group now there are only 3. There's Quick Ben and there's Kalam, who's we may not see again, we don't know, and then there's Fiddler, but that's it, and they're all separated. And I guess technically Mallet. I should apologize. Mallet's still alive.
Yeah.
But like everybody else is gone.
Real quick, we should talk about that when we do our Barf review and what the book means for the series. As far as like, I'd love to actually think about what would it be like if we had read this first. Could you do it? Because it sure seems like you could, and not that much would get ruined that I can think of. And it almost feels like, I mean, we'll see where book 4 takes us, but it seems like it's going to flow back into that battle with Tavor. Yeah. So it does seem like Deadhouse would maybe make a little more sense. But I can't remember. You heard about like what happened with Memories of Ice? As far as you
were telling me.
Yeah, I think he had like written a lot of Memories of Ice previous to Deadhouse, and then he lost it. And so he was just like, I'm not writing that again right now. I think it was like on his laptop, and the laptop got destroyed or something. I don't know exactly the specifics, but I think he had it written, most of it, and then lost it and was like, I'm not doing that again yet. I'm going to write this other story instead and then come back to it. Which I think feels like that. If that's true, it definitely feels like that. Because like I'm thinking about rereads. Like if I read it with Bree or something, if I show Bree this,
I would do 132.
I almost feel like I would want to do 132 because I feel like as good as the Chain of Dogs is in the ending, like I see why that's like the thing that like hooks you, like really hooks you. You can see like the emotional impact that Malazan can do. But I think this can too, and arguably just as good, if not better, and with characters you're already familiar with. So it's not like starting over again. And I also think just his writing in this book was a lot easier. Yeah. So now that I said we should talk about it next time, and we just talked about it, we should still talk about it next time.
Yeah, well, and so the reason why I bring that up, of course, because in the epilogue we actually do find Duker, which is cool. Yeah. So the conclusion for the Bridge Burners, which is where this is leading, is that the remaining members of the Bridge Burners, the 5 remaining members, are all written off on the casualty list. And basically, Zuzek just gives them a ton of loot, sends them off to Druzistan with one condition, which is that they are to assist a man who has been brought there and to then retire. And then we find out that the man who's brought there, who was of this kind of importance to Zuzek, is Duker, the Imperial Astarian, which they have a massive amount of admiration for. Like we sort of realize that over the course of this, like Duker is like very well loved amongst the soldiers, and but he's not really talking right now, but he has been brought back to life by Baruch from Druzistan, the alchemist. And so these bridge burners are like kind of there to help with sort of his transition back, and then ultimately just to take time away from war to like live actual lives. And so but then the book basically ends with Duker finally opening his mouth and saying, I have a tale for you. And he's like, let me tell you the story of the Chain of Dogs. which is why my dumb joke early in the series was like, this one ends and now we got to go back because Dooku's got to tell us.
Yeah, he's got to tell us the
story.
tale. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, but yeah, it felt like the opening of a Borderlands.
Yeah, exactly.
Do
Marcus.
I have a tale for you?
It's a sad one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the ending. I thought the ending was really good.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about when you were just talking about how only 5 bridge burners lived, or that we from that battle. Do you think? I wonder if the bridge burners were the player characters in the role playing campaign, and like this was like a final battle of sorts, and like some of them didn't make it, and then they got their loot because I think it was you literally said that because he really did just be like, "Here's your loot, good sir, like your piles of coins. Now go retire and live happily ever after."
Yep.
Because it does seem like this could have been like the end of a whatever. I know it's not D&D, but whatever D&D campaign. The aftermath where like some players maybe like Trots is very much and Tauren are very much like sacrifices that they make and willingly. That could I guess they could have been NPCs, but in the same crew as like the actual player characters. That would be cool. I'd like to learn about that. I'm sure there are people out there.
I would too. So and kind of related to the same note, I have one other thing I wanted to talk about, but I didn't. At this point, I don't know if I think we feel like we've covered everything.
I think we've covered everything. I'm sure we miss some stuff that we'll remember later, but I'm looking through my notes. I mean, the only other thing we could like really just quickly recap is just like, where does this leave off? Where like what are the open-ended things that could be going into the next book? As far as we kind of did that, but maybe just as a whole here at the end.
Yeah. So what I wanted to bring up, I think, kind of leads into that, which is, this is something that's kind of common in fantasy stories, but is especially common with people who will set up like long form campaigns and things like that, because you'll see it used a lot in like adventure paths and things like this for like Pathfinder, like D&D. Steven, I love that like this happens. Like Steven Erikson doesn't really dwell on it, I think, the same way that you might see in some other stuff, but it's really worth mentioning that we are basically book 3 in a long series. We have these other conflicts that are being set up, and our good guys, if you will, have just made some major sacrifices to defeat the Pan-Domain, and like in a way we're only getting started. So like it's a very common trope that there's a sort of attrition, right? That like the good guys have to keep making sacrifices, and that's a really good way to set up tension where it's like, well, they just spent all of this in order to stop this conflict. Now there's another conflict. Like, where are they going to find the resources, the willpower to like defeat this? Like, Anomander Rake has literally sacrificed Moonspawn for the sake of taking Coral, and the Malazans have sacrificed not only most of Dujek One Arm's force, which is 5,200 soldiers, by the way. I mean, we talked about like we losing the Bridgeburners. Dujek has 6,000 soldiers. He lost 5,200 of them.
Yep.
And that's separate from the Bridgeburners and the command that was under Perrin. And the Bridgeburners have had this long history of being one of the most elite forces, with the Malazans coming from their escapades through the deserts, and then now ultimately all the way to here, and they're done. Like the only remaining members are effectively retired. And I'm sure that, Quickband's going to be a recurrent character, and like I think we're going to see more of him. I think we're going to see more of Perron and Fiddler. But like that company is done, and like Dujek is the High Fist. He's one of our more notable characters. But like his company is done. Like there is a lot that was sacrificed for this battle, and we haven't even beaten the true enemy yet. Like the Chain God is still active. He's still amassing his house.
We barely even gotten a glimpse of him.
Yeah. All we did was just take out one piece off the board who wasn't even like a member of the House of Chains.
Yep.
He was just ultimately a distraction.
Yep.
Right. And like, so I think that's really interesting of like, we do have these open-ended things. We have the Chain God who is being stymied, but not gone, who is assembling his house, Calor, the other Jagut, right? And we see now again
Disease,
this guy
the goddess of disease. I don't remember her name, but
who joined forces.
Yep.
We can see the pantheons are starting to take sides, and prepare themselves for conflict.
Which Bronn technically hasn't. He never blessed that house.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not blessed officially.
So there's that.
Yeah.
As an open-ended point. We do see that Beggar, very likely working with the House of Chains. We have them traveling across to go after Loras Toggs. Am I saying that right? Loras Togg?
Loras Togg.
Loras Togg.
By the way, I got one more thing I want to talk about regarding Trake, if I don't remember. But go ahead.
Yeah. Loras Togg, very likely conflict with the Tista Eater, who may or may not be connected with some other character we haven't seen before.
I think that's an interesting one for me because, like, I think we're getting to the point where, like, we could, in theory, get an entire book that has 0 Malazan characters in it, other than, like, Silver Fox. Like, it's just her, the Talani Moss against the Tista Eater or something. That could happen, which we're just the scope is broadening where it affects what I'm assuming what they're gonna do could affect the Malazans, but we could get that because they're just going off with nobody that we know.
Yep. And then obviously we have Kaladin Brood and the Tista Andi, and I think they're going to be hunting down Galor. Like, I think they're ultimately going to force a confrontation with the House of Chains. And then Shadow Throne, I mean, granted, not in this book, but like from Deadhouse Gates, which is happening alongside this book, Shadow Throne is also preparing, and he's preparing an army.
Yeah, like the children army, right?
Under Callum. Like, and so I mean, the Pantheon is like on the verge of war, and I think, I mean, and granted, the fact that there's like 2 potential gods of war makes that especially interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also the, I can't remember what they called him, but the tyrant that's died 100 times that's poisoning the Tista Eater. That seems like that could be a big bad, if you will, or another distraction, or another piece on the board at the very least. Something that's going to need to be handled, and maybe they're also part of the House of Chains. I don't know if we know that yet, but that does seem like that's going to be something that's going to have to be confronted. Maybe that's just part of that Silver Fox Talani Moss.
Yeah. What it seems like to me is like it almost seems like what's happening is that it's not necessarily, it's like distinct enemies, but it's not necessarily distinct threads. Like, what it feels like to me is that there's, as we go through these books, there's almost this unraveling of time where what we're seeing is the Chain God and we're seeing the Warren of Chaos having this effect and ripple over time. And so that's kind of feels like, is it's almost like this unraveling of digging out everywhere where the Chaos Warren has had its effect. We've gotten the Seer and the Chain Shamala now, but then now there's going to be this Tyrant and the Tista Eater, and then there's going to be, like, ultimately it's all got to be uprooted.
Part of that chaos, the Chaos Warren. Yeah,
I
think you're right.
And so, and I think even if the Chain God is defeated, I think ultimately, like, something will have to be done about his Warren, right? Like this Warren of Chaos.
I would be very interested to see what would happen if the Chaos Warren affected somebody like Dujek or something like that, or Tayshrin, someone that,
or like if
Quick Ben
somehow
Quick Ben. I feel like it's game over. It just can't happen.
The dude is playing Pokemon with Warrens.
It's which we never talked about. We didn't talk about Telemandus this part, but like, I guess you did. You mentioned him, but it seems like he's sticking around with Quick Ben. For now.
I just had a thought where, like, I hope this is not the case, but like, what if Dassam Ultor fakes his death, he loses his daughter, and ends up becoming, like, what if he like ends up becoming like almost like the equivalent of Mortal Sword, but for like the House of Chains? Like that could be crazy.
That could be crazy. Yeah, like a Malazan being like a Mortal Sword.
Like, but fighting for the Chain God, like, against the Empire.
Yeah. That would be crazy.
Out of bitterness for like what it cost him, like something like that. Like, that could be.
I could totally see that. Yeah. But the last thing I wanted to talk about, and we kind of already went over likes and dislikes. I mean, we can hit them again if you're feeling like we didn't do enough of them in the upfront. I mean, I think for both of us, probably a lot of like is everything, and a lot of dislike is nothing really. Although I did say I did find the beginning of this part a little slow. Not really a bad thing or anything. I think it just speaks to how good the final battle was. But one other really cool part we didn't talk about was like the way that Trake's Legion operates. Literally, like they morph together into a giant tiger that like moves through space, killing things, and like when it gets stabbed, like a human falls out, and like literally, it's like I think I wrote like Mighty Morphin Trake or something like that. Mighty Morphin Power Trakers. That's what I put. Because that's what it really was. They like it's just such a cool like, oh, they can do this now. Like it's not like, oh, they're working close together. It's like, no, they literally become like a striped giant tiger beast thing that moves really fast and operates as like a cool unit. And I just thought that was awesome. Just another cool like I just thought it was super cool.
Oh my gosh. And then when we get Tog and Fenrir, like we start getting like werewolves on the field, like it's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, it is gonna be crazy. Just I wonder what Gruntle's gonna do. Buke. I mean, he's got to come back. I just don't see the only real significance he had in this book at the end was like or just throughout the whole book really is like he had an important talk with Gruntle to like get his shit together, and then we learn like at some point Kovian is talking and they're talking about Buke, and they said, well, why didn't you take away Buke's grief? And Buke denied him that. And Akovian was like, oh, well, I didn't because see what happened with Anastor? I think the same thing would probably have happened to Buke. Because all he is despair and grief because of his lost family. And if he took that away from him, he would be just empty. So I don't know if that was just like drive on a point, but it just seems like he gets turned into a soul taken. Like, he's got to be coming back. Maybe just honestly him and the Corporal Broach and Boshlin. I mean, that's really their storyline is him trying to like stop Corporal Broach. So he'll probably come back for that. I hope. Because I really liked the idea of his character, but he really sputtered out for me. Gruntle basically became what I thought Buke was going to become. I just thought we were getting Gruntle's POV, and then it would kind of shift. But it makes sense why it was Gruntle, and I'm happy it was Gruntle. I like Gruntle and Stony Manakis, and their whole relationship I think is good. They have a great conversation too about how Gruntle is like, I understand how Buke would feel, and Stony's like kind of like, you didn't lose your family. He's like, I lost Harlow and I thought I was going to lose you too. And that kind of like awakens something in her of like, wow, he really cares for me. And I thought that was a good moment as well. But I think we covered everything else.
Well, and just, justice for Emanciport Reese, of course, naturally.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Yeah. Justice for Emanciport Reese. Yeah. He's great. I really like Reese. And, Where did Krupp end up? Was the last time we see him was releasing the Mybi into the realm, and then he's like, I gotta go. He I can't remember if he says where he's gotta go, but
he the last time we see him is in the epilogue. He's in Darushistan with Baruch. He goes to Kurul's temple for the opening night, and then Baruch comes in. Yeah. So well, and it's as far as other conclusions go, if you want to mention one other character. Tool's final moment is Eaton walking up and saying, "Oh yeah, you look like you haven't been with somebody for a while."
And just currently pregnant with Krupp's child. Which what the hell? Like, are we gonna get Krupp's child here? I forgot. So we don't know where Tool and Kalava are going or why they're going to the Barghast range, but that's where they're going.
Well, they're going to get a sword. They're going to make a sword, but we don't know why.
Sword. Yep, don't know why.
Other than if maybe they feel like there's a conflict that they need to go to. It could be the thing with Lannis Tog. It could be the fact that
a new mortal sword for somebody, just not for the.
Yeah. So we're not sure what they're heading towards, but that is an open-ended storyline we're looking.
Corlat and her brother, I can't remember where they were headed somewhere. If I remember correctly, I don't remember.
They're going after Calor. They're gonna hunt him.
They're going after Calor. Okay. Dujek, we know, is going to meet up with Tavor. Perron and is back home. Is Quick Ben is there as well?
Perron's
right?
in Drujistan.
Yeah, Drujistan. Yeah. Quick Ben is with him.
All of the remaining
all the rest of the bridge burners are there. And Amanda Rake, Khaled and Brood, they're just at Black Coral for right now. We don't really know exactly what they're going to be doing.
We haven't seen Crow come back yet, so that's interesting too. We don't know what's going to happen with Crow. Crone, yeah.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, but that was another thing I thought was going to be more significant was the Great Ravens and their ability to like cancel magic. Which I think it will be at some point, but I thought it was going to be relevant in this book, especially against the Condors.
Yep.
That's what I was thinking, but it seems like they're just going to be relevant against the Crippled God. That's where they're birthed from.
Yeah, exactly. They're birthed from the Crippled God, and like now their rooster's gone, which they're probably pretty upset about.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they got. I mean, the Condors had nests all over Coral.
Yeah.
So I like that Black Coral. Like we literally got to see like the birth of a new city, which seems like it's like so Steven Erikson with his archaeology career and it's just like the history of cities. I don't know. I don't know if I've ever read like a fantasy where it's like a significant creation of a city. And it actually means something probably for the rest of the series. So that's pretty cool thinking about that. Lady Envy. Do we know where so Lady Envy and
she's taking the Segulas back home.
The Segula, okay, yeah. And Gareth, it was the other dog just going with her?
As far as I know.
He kind of just dropped off once he got healed. We didn't really hear back from him. Tog and Baljag are just in the Beast Realm. Mybe's Eternal Rest. I think that's everybody. Calor is with the Crippled God, very likely. Yeah. Picker and Blen. I'm looking through my character list now. They're at the tavern. What Gruntle and Stony, do we know where they're going? Or they're just kind of chilling at Black Coral for now? Can't remember about that one.
They're chilling now because last time we saw them, they were with Hawk.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I guess we don't really know exactly what they're all doing yet.
Yeah, we don't really know what's going to happen with the Grey Swords. We don't know what's going to happen with the Legion.
Drake's Legion, yeah.
Yeah.
Buke, we don't know. Corporal Broach and Boshlin are looking to shack up in Black Coral. Silver Fox and Krupp, we got Mybe. Cole Murillo, we don't know about Cole Murillo. I'm guessing they'll probably go back to Darujistan.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's...
Yeah. And the Mott Irregulars...
Oh, yes, the Mott Irregulars.
Have
everywhere.
The Bridge Burners table. So we haven't forgot about the table.
They
do. The table is still... They stole the table. So...
They did steal the table. I don't...
that's
what Perron and Quick Ben come back out of.
Yeah, it technically was their table originally, I believe.
Yeah, I think you're right. They're
the ones who originally made it, and then the Malazans looted it, and then now they've got it back.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't wait to learn more about the Mott traders, because there's like the other one that like stole dung and like bitch slapped the dung trader and then stole and runs onto the barge so he can get away. Yeah. And it's just like, who are these guys? Like, they're just silly guys. So, but yeah, I think unless you got more to say, I think we did it. Just crazy. No. It feels crazy that we finished that book.
Yeah. And I was just like, I would say overall, both of us, like we were going over so many notes. We were rereading, like I was doing chapter summaries and like listening to it again. I listened to the last chapter again, and
damn,
it's just like, I will say, like coming to this one, it was like one of the episodes I was really, really excited to finally talk about. But at the same time, it's also just hard. It's getting intense, and just like the amount.
Yeah.
I was telling Matt as we kind of were setting up, it's just like this, but I felt it with Chain of Dogs, but like with Deadhouse Gates, but especially with this one, is like there's just these moments where you can go back to like recap and it just looks so short. Like, oh, there's just a few chapters. But it's like, no, like, I'm pretty sure this has been like a month of my life, just like stretched out, right? Like, it feels like there's been so much. And it's just like, no, that was just like these couple of chapters. And I'll go through chapter summaries. I'm like, no, more happened here, surely, right?
Yep.
And just Steven Erikson, just his stories just have a way of like really stretching out time like that, and making you feel like you've been in it longer. So yeah, there's just this extent of just like the enormity of it in a way. And
Yeah.
I'm very excited for the next one. So we'll be working on scheduling a time that we can go through and do our Barf review. Not quite sure when that one's going to come out. We'll be doing the next episode, the next part of Empire of Silence, not before too long. And then we will get to doing our Barf review for this, then Barf review for that. And then, we'll probably be around Thanksgiving or early December. And then we'll be looking at setting out for the next books.
Yeah, I'd say realistically, first video for House of Chains, like mid to late December, I think is just realistically where it's going to need to be. If not early January with holiday stuff. Obviously, we'll get to start reading it before then. That's just when our first discussion video will come out. So yeah, expect a break, but we are definitely in it for the long haul, unless something drastically changes, which I can't imagine it will.
I've already got the next one. We're ready to go.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I got 4 through 6 on the Broken Binding coming in, because I need them to match. Which, by the way, I don't think I ever showed you the sign, the little Kel Hunter there.
Oh, nice. Yep.
Yeah. And then Moonspawn's on right there. At the tip of my finger, and here's the other part of it, which is pretty cool. So, yeah, I'm excited to. I think they just get chunkier too, which is crazy, because this was a long book. Like, it's a big book. So yeah, thanks for everyone for your patience. If it takes us a little longer to get through, because yeah, it is one of those things that's like, it's a lot of work, putting down notes, reviewing those notes, reviewing chapter summaries, and just reading it. And then obviously these take us a couple of hours, which they're a blast, but we will need some breaks here and there. So between books, it just makes sense. But all right, let's close it out. We're under 3 hours. That's pretty good, honestly. I thought it was going to be over 3 hours. So, yeah, good job. We did it.
We did it. Well, and again, thank you to everybody. We love it when we see veterans coming back and letting us know what their experiences were like and encouraging us to keep reading through the series. And when people are joining us for their first read through, it's just been really awesome to see those comments. We try to respond to every single one. So if there's anything that we miss, we apologize. We'll try to get to those soon, but just know that we really love seeing that you guys are coming and checking out. It's just been really awesome. And so, yeah, excited to keep doing more of these. But until the next one, this has been Hobby Vomit. So I'm Ian, and this is...
I'm Matt. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
We'll play out with a little song.
Yeah.
All right. Goodbye.
See ya.
Don't tell me what to make. I don't care about your take. It's my channel, and I do what I want. Wow!